Brett Perigo, tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terribles over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to. I really like them.
How are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, I'm talking here. You know who you're talking to? Macho Man! I'm on my way to Monday Night Raw.
How I want to answer the second one.
Your choice.
It's a trap.
I feel like it is. I feel like he's setting up fights in the front stretch is what he's trying to do.
Speedway. We've got Devin Board with us.
At Keen Motorsports Shop here with Kyle Keen.
Sitting here with Sean Keen. We're going to talk a little bit about racing history.
Yep.
Wednesday, November 15th. What's going on? Turn 2 Terribles here. Third time as hopefully the charm here. It's Wednesday. A little bit out of sorts. Everything went down in the midst of us doing our podcast on Monday, so we're back. We said we were going to do report cards. We're going to do goddamn report cards. So here we are. And we got a very special guest with us tonight. Welcome back, friend of the show, Brett Strickler. Brett, how you doing?
Doing good, guys. Thanks for letting me come on here. Play along a little bit tonight.
Hell yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Chris, JZ, how you guys doing tonight?
Good. Got to be graced by Brett Strickler's iRacing Pro presence here.
Yeah, I'm just a fan. Like
big fan.
I'm in awe of the man who is Brett Strickler. I mean, this guy, he's so hot right now.
So Brett, you're iRacing Pro. You know, they gave you a shout out that you made a World of Outlaws start on the
we need to
Monday.
adjust that. I believe that was Rodman or somebody, whoever's doing the announcing. They said I made an Outlaw start. I didn't make an Outlaw start. I made 2 Outlaw appearances, and both my Outlaw debut and my iRacing Outlaw debut went about the same. So, except one didn't cost me money and one did. So it is what it is.
Well, thanks again for joining us. Let's get right into it. We got through 6 drivers on Monday night. We also went over BAPS. Go back to our videos on Monday. We had 2 of them because we're trying to keep it going. But we did go over BAPS, went over a couple other things, and we started getting into these report cards. So these first couple, we're just going to hit quick since we already went over them in the previous video. So let me start this up. Brad Sweet, pretty much everybody was unanimous with an A+. Viewers included. Brett, what do you think about Brad Sweet?
Yeah, anybody that says anything less than A+ for Brad Sweet is probably not paid any kind of attention. The guy's model of consistency throughout the year, and the fact that he just won a 5th straight World of Outlaw title should just speak for itself. So that's anything shy of A+ for that guy's season is probably disrespectful.
Yeah, pretty much. We all agreed. Next driver was David Gravel, and we all went with an A. Viewers were kind of split between A and A+. Still a great season. Brett, what do you think about Gravel's season?
I think A+ is probably pretty fair. When we're looking at rating A+s, I don't know if you guys watch the Barstool stuff where he talks about the pizza ratings and the
Yeah.
10 is kind of like the absolute top. It's unattainable. If Brad Sweet is the pinnacle of a season this year, I don't know how you. I could just see like an argument in comparison to him. So and they were going head to head for the points there for a while. So I think A or A+ is justified. I mean, he won that 250 grand race at Huset's. I mean, that in and of itself sounds like a win in anybody's season.
We pretty much agreed. The third guy here that was really going for the title was Carson Macedo. Jay-Z went with an A+. Me and Chris went with an A. The viewers went with a B+. Brett, what do you think?
I'd put him in the A- category. I feel like he's been pretty good. Obviously had a couple rough nights, including that one in Knoxville where he took a pretty good wild ride. But props to those guys for having good spirits about it. Coming out with a flame scheme and then going back to Knoxville. And I think he won, didn't he? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think an A category is probably justified, and I would probably say A- in that area.
And then, the man, the myth, the legend, Donnie Schatz. Kind of a down year. Jay-Z went with the C. I went with the B-. Chris and the viewers went with the B. Brett?
I did my ratings, and I don't quite remember what I said for shots. I mean, the guy's still a top quality driver, no matter how you look at it. I think what he ended up like 4th in World of Outlaw points. I'd say low A, Bs are probably justifiable.
He was 6th in points.
6th, 5th. Well, maybe a down year compared to what he's normally putting out, but I mean, the guy's done a lot of races. That's still not going to bet against him on most nights. So I'd say somewhere A-, Bs, probably fair.
Okay. When we went with Gio Scelzi, rookie of the year, 4th in points. Jay-Z went with the B-. I went with the C+. Chris went with the C. Viewers were a lot higher on him than we were, B+ and an A. Brett, what do you think about Gio Scelzi's rookie year?
I mean, didn't they say that's like one of the best, not the best year out of a rookie or matching the best point series finish? So, I mean, you got to give the guys credit where he's due. I think upper Bs and A- are, I'd say probably any kind of B rating I think is pretty good. Kevin Gobrecht, rookie, 4th in points, only racked up 1 win this year, but he seemed to be pretty consistent otherwise. So I'd say a B's fair, somewhere in the B's.
And then the last driver that we got to before everything crashed on us was Sheldon Haudenschild. We went over this a little bit. This was a pretty low rating from everybody. Jay-Z with a C-, me with a C, Chris with a D, and the viewers with a C+.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with anybody's ratings there. Somewhere in the C's is probably fair. I think the guy kind of maybe disappointed some, but there's some night he still won a couple races, and he's another one of those guys that rolls into the pits that he's not afraid to put on a show and can pull something crazy out of a hat on any given night. I mean, for the I-55 Ironman deal last year or 2 years ago, wherever it is, where he won by like all but lapping the whole field. So the guy's good. I'd find anywhere in the C's probably. I expected to see maybe something a little better out of this year, but hey, it's a reason why it's called racing and not winning. Can't do it all the time.
It's true. Hey, that's a good point. And then this is where we started getting into before everything froze up on us. Logan Schuchart. Jay-Z went with the B-. I went with the B. Chris went the B. And then the viewers went with an A-. 25% of the viewers thought he was an A-. He did have the million win. 5th in points. 6 outlaw wins total. 26 top 5s, 47 top 10s, 4 DNFs on the Outlaw Tour. And then you had the million win and what the other starts that he had. I think my grade for B was just expected him. It was still a very good year, obviously. Won the million, was pretty solid all around. But there were times where it was just, hey, where's Logan? And you were hoping that he would kind of get into that conversation of the top 4 or 5 drivers. And he is, but not in points. And we thought maybe a little more consistency out of him. Jay-Z, you went with B-.
Yeah, my expectations were that he competed for a championship from week one this year. After last year, the consistency they showed really felt like they were on that path of he won races and he was starting to run in the top five consistently week after week after week. There weren't these like, hey, top fives, three DNFs, 17th, didn't make an A. It was up front, up front, up front. And I think this year, you know, I just feel like the million matters, man. Like he's going to take my B plus and cry all the way to the freaking bank. I don't really like he's not going to feel bad for himself about it. But my expectations that he competed with Sweet Macedo and Gravel this year. They got A's. I just can't see it here. He had, if I look at this, he had 26 less top tens than Brad Sweet.
Yep.
He had 19 less top fives than Brad Sweet. It's not going to cut it if you're going to win an outlaw championship. So that's why, I mean, it's not dramatically lower here. I like Logan Schuchart. I'm a fan. I want to see him succeed, but my expectations were very high for this year, and I think it was rightfully so. I think theirs were.
Chris, what do you think about Logan Schuchart's year?
Yeah, I think exactly. You guys covered it. I expected more consistency to be in that battle all the way to World Finals for the championship. Eldora, the million was huge. That race he won at Williams Grove was probably one of the best races I was at all year. Just for the sheer craziness of the last lap pass. But outside of that, like you said, just inconsistent and at times like where's Logan at and what's going on there.
Brett, you're kind of, I know you're kind of there with the Shark team a little bit when with Landon Myers. What do you think about Logan's year?
I mean, I should have done my research before the pod here, but I got Logan's career statistics here. In terms of his season, I thought it was probably somewhere in the B's. Kind of like Jay-Z said, he won the million, so like you can't really he can take all of our opinions and just laugh his way to the bank. So, but if you're looking at over his years and you kind of stack it up against some of his other years, I mean, it's kind of been on par with the exception of the 2020 year where he went second in the outlaw points. Obviously, that was COVID year, a bit of a shortened year, a little different circumstances. But, I was hoping to see a little more. It's again, it's called racing for a reason, so can't win them all. And I thought Logan did pretty well. I was happy to be around them guys pretty much every time I was there. Eldora for the million and Kings Royal Week was pretty cool. I know, obviously, I'm buddies with Landon. He actually got in the Royal Show before flipping to the pretty good rut, and being there for that million was pretty cool. So I don't know. I'm pretty biased, but I think he had about an on par year. I'd like to see him kind of break through a little more than he did, but that's there's always next year to come, and there's no Sweet next year. So if they remain on the tour, it could be a difference. We'd be having a different conversation next year.
Absolutely. I think if you just take Sweet out of the equation and you start looking a little bit at next year, it's going to be a dogfight between about 4 or 5 guys. And Schuchart's definitely one of them. What letter grade would you give him?
Oh, goodness. I need to start. I wish I could have copied my results or my grades. I'll give him a B plus.
Okay.
I mean, again, he won the highest paying sprint car race in history. So
yeah, absolutely.
And he was on point all night. I mean, all but quick time. I don't remember how the full night, but the car just looked like it was locked down. He was on his game that night. So I'll give him a B plus.
Yeah, and I can't hate on the viewers A minus either. He did have a good year. It's just he brought up the 2020 year where he was second in points and he was right there. I think that's kind of where we expect him to get back to, and he just kind of wasn't there, but he still had a very, very good season. Up and down season was the next guy, James McFadden, and they got a huge penalty and suspended a few races, and I mean, if that didn't happen, I think he might be. You look at his stats, he's probably pretty close to being in that points race. 6 wins, 20 top 5s, 42 top 10s, with 9 less starts than some of these other guys. So he'd be right there with like a Selzy, Shots, and who knows what could happen if he could have got a couple more wins, maybe over the races that he missed. Jay-Z went with a B. I went with the B plus. So did Chris and the viewers. Jay-Z, start with you.
I mean, the B plus is fair. I can't hate on a B plus, and it's a half a grade, right, or a third of a grade here, right? When we go B minus, B plus. So I I struggle with this one a little bit because he won career year for races with the Outlaws. But when I look at the numbers, if I'm giving Shots a C for his year, the numbers are similar. If I'm giving Gio for expectations, right, I gave him a B plus, right, because I think he exceeded expectations. I can't get close to an A here for him with the suspension, with there were some DNFs involved, and similar statistics to Shots and Geo. So it's that next tier for me. I don't know. A great year. I mean, all things considered, I think they would walk away and go, "Man, career year for us for a year in the Outlaw Tour." But I think they felt like I would bet that they feel like they left something on the table. That's my opinion.
And I agree. I think that's why I went with the plus, because for him it was a career year for him and the Outlaws. Just with the wins and how consistent he was. He was fast every night. He should have swept Jackson all 4 nights there. He lost the last night to Macedo, but he won the other 3. Like, he was so dominant there. And there's been times where he showed that flash in the pan. So that's the only reason I went with the extra plus. And just going through that adversity of, hey, you pretty much got knocked out of the points because of this big penalty, and he just came back firing. Chris, what'd you think?
Yes, I mean, same. The career year for him is kind of what pushed me up there. Was showing a little bit more consistency, I think, over previous years, and kind of moved up out of that mid pack and was a contender more often than not. And I think that's where I landed with the B plus.
Before we get to you, Brett, Luke Ritz here says only here for Brett. He gets an A plus.
Yeah, my racing season sure doesn't get an A plus, but I appreciate the comment.
What do you think about McFadden's season?
I'll piggyback off of Jay-Z. I think a B is probably in the ballpark of being right. Career wins, season, or his best season, I think, with the World of Outlaws in the last 3 years. Most wins. Matt, looking statistically here, he's too shy of beating or tying his top 5s. Second most top 10s he's ever had in a year, but I think the black eye on his season is the whole getting suspended for a handful of races. I mean, that puts them behind, I don't know how many you said earlier, whatever it was, 9 races or something. So,
yeah, he only had 63 starts.
Yeah, and just that, that, I guess, the stigma or whatever you want to call it of getting disqualified and then suspended on your season just leaves a pretty big black mark. But otherwise, I mean, he was competitive. I think I feel like I remember him wrecking a couple race cars about as often as I do remembering his wins. But
he had 5 DNFs.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I wouldn't be complaining if I won 6 Outlaws races this year.
Well, I think everybody pretty much agreed. Really solid season for McFadden, given even everything that happened around his season. Next driver, this one's gonna be. This one hurt me, man. Brock's my guy in the Outlaws. And I had to give him an F, man. Listen, 1 top 5, 8 top 10s, 9th in points, 60 starts only. That's less than McFadden because he missed so many features. I can't give him a passing grade. I know he probably wouldn't give himself a passing grade, I would imagine. I'll give him credit for hanging out on the tour. They looked a little more consistent. Just that consistency seemed to be 12th to 18th on a good night. You know what I mean? So it's just a and we're going to get into some of these other drivers here at the bottom of the points. We start comparing them to those guys. It's kind of like, man, like you don't really have any much better stats than like a Noah Gas. So I don't know. Chris, you also went with an F.
Yeah, it was just a bad year. I've always been kind of hard on Brock, mostly to piss you off, but he made it easy this year.
Yeah.
It was just every night it was something. I don't know what's going on there. Did they even make the feature at BAPS? I don't remember.
That's what I mean. He only had 60.
Well,
at least according to
this
60 Outlaw
weekend,
starts.
Just this in November.
No, he was in the B main, did not make it.
Right. So it's just a kind of storybook of their season. It's just underperforming, I would say, from either Carr or Brock himself. I don't know, but
I think he showed the most consistent speed because before he was kind of like he could be up in the top 10 or he could be wrecking out. And then this year was more, a little less DNFs and stuff like that, but it was just the speed just wasn't there. Jay-Z, what'd you think with a D?
Man, I couldn't give anybody an F. I was like, I struggled giving anybody an F because he made the whole tour, stayed on tour, didn't come home, didn't throw in the towel. So
Mhm.
D for effort.
I gave it an F.
I
just to
was
distribute
in
off
between
field.
those two. I was in between those two with you, but
I appreciate I'm not knocking your F. I think the fans are a little bit
Fan
they're
like.
being nice,
Mhm.
let's say, but yeah, just not anything like he would have wanted. And he mentioned that he's talked about it. Surprised he's going to Australia. Those plans must have already been made because, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe the other part of the world and still having summer will brighten his spirits and get him going. Who knows? But I hope so. I mean, I think the sport's better with Brock's doing well, right? Another
Yeah.
PA guy, whether he's home or he's on a tour, you know, as much mental health as drivers talked about this year, racing too much and burnout, some of those guys were winning race car drivers.
Mhm.
Think about doing it to that level and not winning.
Getting
Man,
your ass kicked every night.
that's tough.
And
So
that's what I
kudos
mean.
to his
It's
mental strength, like
yeah.
his mental fortitude to stay in it.
Yeah, and I will also give him a ton of credit for that. I mean, they stuck out there. He always had a smile on his face, no matter how tough the season was. He was out there, giving an effort every night. It's just statistically, when I look at the stats, it's just very disappointing. It's probably his worst outlaw season, I would say. 0 laps led. I mean, he led laps in his previous seasons. He has outlaw wins. Just kind of expected a little bit more. Brett, what'd you think?
I'm going to piggyback off of Jay-Z here. I think a D grade is probably about accurate. I think if those guys reflected on their own season, they probably wouldn't be too satisfied with it either. And I mean, he still ran a full outlaw tour, albeit probably not his greatest of his 3 complete tours I think he's done. I think everybody when they go back and look on their season and they look at something like this, they're like, "Wow, what did we do wrong? What could we do better?" And um, I'm sure those guys are. I'm sure they're critiquing themselves just as much as we're saying something now. But
Yeah, right.
season wise, I think it's a D, just not the results he was looking for. I'm sure. I mean, though, I have to give Brock some credit. I mean, what he does with the the Milton Hershey School and bringing guys to the racetrack and his whole getting involved with that is pretty awesome. So that reflects greatly upon him, and I think he's another one of those guys that seems to get along with fans pretty well. Plus, he's got some pretty race cars, some pretty good looking race cars.
Absolutely, and I like that you brought up the Milton Hershey thing because it seems to me with his program, he's really building something. So hopefully next year it can it can lead to some wins and stuff. But he's definitely building a good program there. It's just the stats there weren't there this year. And yes, I get it. I need a haircut. I get it, chat.
Jimmy is
I know.
flamed.
All right, let's go on the next driver. Sorry, Brock. Love you, but bad season. We'll go in the next one. Spencer Baston. Jay-Z with a C. I went with a C minus. Chris with a D. And the viewers, 23% said C. And I was kind of, the reason he got a C from me was because he did get a win. He did 11 top 5s, 40 top 10s on the Outlaw Tour. Not a terrible season, but to me, he just never really was. I'm not taking the hat off. Done. I could take it off. Go ahead. How about that? All right. But but he just never really was a factor to win. He got that one win, but it just didn't seem like the consistency was there. Brett, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one of those guys that I actually really like their race team. They're a Central PA, I guess, Mechanicsburg-based race team that are going out there running on the road. Probably, again, not the season I'm sure that they were hoping for. I think they felt like they had a lot of potential probably going into the year. I mean, outside of, I've met Eric, their crew guy, and we all kind of know Eric through Kyle Keen. So Other than that, I don't really know anything about those guys. Got beautiful race cars. Seem like they have top of the line equipment, but just one of those things where I feel like they probably had higher expectations and the results just didn't show. So if you're asking me, I'd probably side somewhere in the range of with the viewers again, probably in that C range. I'd say I think was this his first full year on a
I think
tour
this was the
or
first full year with
no? I lied.
CJB.
He won the Rookie of the Year last year, didn't he?
You're right,
The
because when did he win the one
Yeah.
of his first races with CJB was the Outlaw race at Port Royal, and that might have been 2 years ago
I think
because
that was
Kerry
2 years
Madsen was
ago.
in the 14.
yeah.
So last year was his full year.
Yeah, I
First
think
full year.
a lower passing grade's probably fair. I mean, he won the opening night at I-55, I believe.
hmm
That was his lone win of the year. So I think low passing grade anywhere in the C's probably make an argument for.
Chris, you went with the D. Why?
Just I expected more growth from last year. We saw he has speed at times. I wanted more consistency, more consistent speed. Just another one of those guys that just kind of didn't have it every night. And then as year to year, I'd expected to be seeing that. We saw the speed last year, and I don't know what changed or if it's just how it goes sometimes, but just wasn't there consistently enough for me to want to put him up in the grades with the guys that were every night and running for wins and podiums and things like that.
And I can't disagree. Jay-Z, you were more in line with the viewers, just a little step up with a C.
Yeah, like I definitely had higher expectations than what they did, but if I look at some statistics, right? So I looked at season long, just 410. 410, not just Outlaw. He had one less top 10 than Sheldon. He had six less top fives, and he only had his one win, right? If I give Sheldon a C minus based on expectations, my expectations weren't the same for Basin as they were for Sheldon. Sheldon should be a contender for Outlaw championships at this point. Like we're there. Sheldon's year did not come close. For me, Basin, I don't know if he's a 6, 7 win guy yet. James McFadden's been at this a long time, and he had a bunch of Outlaw wins finally. Basin's a young guy still. I think he's been racing a long time, but he's a young guy in the scheme of things. So, like, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen that car perform at a high level consistently since David Gravel's been in it.
It's a good point.
So let's put that little bit of perspective where what really are those expectations? I think for them and the team, sure, right? They want to compete for a championship, but it was kind of wild watching his year. The times that I watch him race, you could tell when he was comfortable at either the racetrack or they got the car right because he drives very hard. When that
Mhm.
car is right, he goes forward. He races up front. He can win a race. When that car is bad, it is bad. So it's like the tale of two evils. Like, tale of two worlds there. He didn't tear up a lot of equipment. He finished a lot of races. How many DNFs? Anybody have that? Know that one?
I did not write down how many DNFs. No.
I feel like he was in all the races. He finished them. Those laps matter. I think it'll pay off in the long run. Might have been a little higher. Obviously, I'm a little bit higher than you guys on it, but I just kind of put it in that category of like expectations versus reality of where his numbers sat.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I might be a little bit high, but
Yeah.
I think that they can only get better. If it gets worse, he won't be in the car. So there's that.
I do think that they confirmed him in the car next year, but they didn't confirm what they were running. So that might be something to keep an eye on. Two more Outlaw drivers to go through here. Robbie Price. All three of us went with the C minus. The viewers went with the C. 25% of them said a C. Statistically, not a great season, but also not working with the same stuff I think that the rest of the tour has. And he surprised. The reason I gave him at least a C was he surprised me at times. So there are times where I'm like, Robbie Price is up there. Like he was fast at times. He was showing flashes of being pretty good. One top 5, 4 top 10s out of 59 starts on the Outlaw Tour. Not great stats, but I don't think it tells exactly the whole story. So I went with a C minus. Jay-Z, Chris, you guys both did too.
Yes, same expectations and reality. I don't know where it stacks up with Jason Sides finishes, but Jason Sides was at it for a long time and wasn't getting great results. This guy is a young guy. I agree with Jimmy. There's times where, and I think we'll talk. Are we talking about Noah Gas next? Just to preview. I feel like both of these guys, your times you're like, oh shit, like right? Whether it was a time trial, moving forward in a heat, making some waves there. And I think all those laps matter. I hope this stays a thing for a while and we see where this goes. I mean, I hope they get, the funding and the equipment and give him a legitimate shot to grow on the tour. I'm excited where that could go.
Right. Same. It's just we don't know what the funding is and the resources that team has, but with what they're working with and where it came from with Jason's sides, I think it's just a development between the team and him at the same time. And I think there's some progression there, and it's a steep climb when you're doing it the way they're doing it, just jumping in there. We look Shark Racing, for example, how many years until they were contenders. So,
and he's like 18, 19, like he's young.
Right.
So, Brett, what do you think about Robbie Price this season?
I think if we're gonna give Zierfoss a D or less than passing grade, I find it hard to give somebody that had lower statistics a passing grade. I understand the expectation things, but I mean, you gotta look at it. There's still the World of Outlaw schedule at the beginning of the year was what 80 races scheduled. Granted, there's rainouts and whatnot, and they obviously went and raced some races elsewhere. Like they got 4 races outside of the Outlaw shows if they chose to run them. I think probably in the D plus range. The guy's young, which I think is something he's got going for him. Brock's obviously in his 30s or something like that. It's a little older. So if we're kind of comparing the lower portion of the Outlaw standings and reflecting upon their whole season and their body of work, would have liked to seen more. I think when you're talking about one of those moments where Robbie really surprised you, wasn't it the Houston High Banks weekend where he was running somewhere inside the top 5?
He was leading.
Was it the 250 grand night that
it might have been, or it was the prelim night, but he led for a while.
Yeah, it was one of those nights. That was cool to see that. Like, I think he's got potential, and I'm sure he's probably doing things a little differently than say a Casey Kane team or a Big Game Motorsports team. But when you're running 50 shows on the Outlaw Tour, I'd like to see more than 4 top 5s or whatever, or 4 top 10s or whatever his statistic was.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, but I think it was a little bit of everybody had their different reasons for giving him a grade, but everybody was about in the ballpark here. And we'll go to the final. We'll go to the final Outlaw driver, Noah Gass. I was a little rough on him because Jay-Z, you said that you saw flashes of him like, oh, he can. I didn't see any of that from this guy personally.
Just watching him drive the car, like I saw him show up, like he's not afraid to use the throttle, and you can't teach that, right? If you have to tell a driver they got to go harder, they're probably not going to make it. I've always heard that, right? If you have to tell someone, hey, it's easier to slow someone down than speed someone up. So experience, time, get your teeth kicked in. They're like Shark first year on the road, right? Like, don't know a thing, maybe won't make it, don't really know what we're doing. Do we even have a team? We might have one person riding along. Go get your teeth kicked in and be better for it on the other side. I had zero expectations of wins, top 5s and top 10s. I have no idea. I didn't think they'd even make the rest of the season.
Yeah.
He finished the season.
He did. 43 starts, 1 top 10.
And I feel like he tore up less stuff than last year when he was driving. So I counted that in there too for me. Not tearing up cars every night is good.
It's a good point. If I look back on it, maybe I would give him a D, but I'm going to stick with my viewers were split between a D and a C evenly. Brett, what do you think about Noah Gass's season?
I'm going to stay consistent in the ballpark of the Price Zierfoss range. I'm going to say somewhere in the D's, probably a D plus D. I think anybody that goes up. What's that? I would say I think anybody in that kind of ballpark, or if you have a little higher expectations going out on the road like that. Well, not necessarily high expectations, but like going out and you're expecting to get better or progress. I did see. I'm trying to find it here while you guys were talking, but I'm pretty sure he ran like Tri-State Speedway in Texas or something over last weekend, and ran in like in the top 5, I think. So I mean, the guy can wheel a sprint car. It's just I think maybe if he reflected on his own outlaw season, he's gonna be like, man, this we got our teeth kicked in all year long. So
absolutely.
Let me ask you guys this: if he runs IRA,
didn't he win an IRA title or something?
Well, I feel like he won a race this year somewhere, but I don't have that on my list that he did. But Do you think he wins races if he's not on the outlaw somewhere this year?
Yeah, probably.
Like IRA or something. Yeah, sure.
I mean, even
Okay,
if he
so
came to Central PA and raced, I think he wins somewhere around here if he raced all year.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't
If
think it's
Brock
a
was
PA.
off the tour and ran locally in PA, would he have won a race this year somewhere?
Maybe.
How many races are we talking?
Oh,
If he's running a full
if
slate like
he
a
ran
Danny
a PA
Pate,
season, does he win a race?
probably.
Yeah, he's gonna win a couple races. I mean, he ran. Didn't he win the port title a couple years ago before
Yeah.
going out in the tour?
Yep, he won like 5
Right.
straight there. So yeah,
I
he
think-
can win around here.
I think Noah Gass would go in a race somewhere if he wasn't on the tour. And that tells me like he can do this. It's just all got to come together.
Mm.
It takes a mountain of things to preparation, funding, crew, travel, and we've seen it over and over and over again where it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years to start succeeding on the outlaw tour because it's such a kick in the nuts. I I I believe he could be a sprint car driver. I mean, he's obviously driving them already, but I think he could be a winner someday. So we'll see.
Sure. But 2023 wasn't it, so that's
It was
so that's it for the outlaw drivers. We're gonna get into the next tier, your all stars / true outlaws. And I mean, what a season, Rico Abreu. Everybody went with an A+. I went with just a solid A. 55% of the viewers just won a big landslide with an A+.
Yeah, Jimmy, tell us why just an A, Jimmy.
13 wins, 6 outlaw wins, 4 high limit, 2 all stars. He did win the Summer Nationals. For me, the only knock I have on him, and it's not really that much of a knock, but like some of the bigger events, he just
blew a tire and a motor.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, blows. Like that's what I mean. It seems
He
all the
sh-
time with them.
Very well
And-
could have won every single one of them. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, an A is still really good. I don't know. None of the other wins really
Jimmy's
stood
wrong.
out to me as like
No,
wow.
no pluses for not winning high
Jimmy's
limit.
just-
No
Jimmy's
pluses
just
for,
wrong.
for not winning Knoxville.
What do you mean?
He only gets an A because he didn't win a high limit championship or the Knoxville Nationals. That's it, right?
Or any major event like this? The biggest major event he won was the Summer Nationals. So
He has got to be arguably one of, if not the best sprint car driver this year, and
Absolutely.
also arguably one of, if not the most unluckiest sprint car driver this year.
Other than Justin Peck.
Yeah, other than Peck, man, that guy needs to count his blessings. I've seen some nasty flips out of that man, but yeah, Rico should have won probably 4 more races, 5 more races.
Could have won a lot more. He could have won some big races.
I think
Wasn't
the only one I can think of that, like, realistically he kind of made his own mistake was the 4-crown night where he bounced off the wall in 4, and I think that was pretty much like his own. Unless he had, I don't think it was a flat tire then. I think he bounced off the wall and kind of climbed it.
I don't remember, but it did seem like there were. He gave some away, and that's the only reason I kind of went down one peg. What do you, Jay-Z, Chris? Your thoughts on Rico's season?
I think it was a fantastic season. I think for what he was doing with his program, anytime he showed up, he was definitely a threat to win. The Summers Nationals, he seemed like he was almost untouchable. Just anytime he showed up, he was the guy I would think that was like the favorite. Even on the outlaw shows, when he showed up, it was like you knew with him and Ricky, they were ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, career year from the gate. You saw at the end of last year a little bit into this year, from race 1 all the way through the season. He was a contender to not only run up front, but to win every single race he attended. Time trials, heats, dashes, features. You know, again, some unluckiness. I can't knock the guy for some unluckiness. It'd be different if you're, we've talked about Sheldon over the years, right? Leading races and just take yourself out of them. Things that are out of your control take you out of races. I'm not knocking him for that. That's a career year. One of the top three world sprint car drivers in the entire world this year, 2023.
Like a 57% top 5 percentage with the competition he was racing almost every time they unloaded is also really impressive.
Absolutely. No, definitely a career year for him, and it'll be interesting to see what he does next year. Let's go on to the next driver, Sunshine Tyler Courtney. Jay-Z, Chris went with an A-. Viewers went with 30% A, so did I. A 11 wins, 35 top fives, 57 top tens, an outlaw win at Port. He missed some time with a back injury and still had crazy stats. Kind of, who knows what could have been if he could have been in there for Knoxville and everything. But he had a great season, probably one of his best seasons. It's just kind of knocked down a peg a little bit from the injury. Chris, Jay-Z, you guys both went an A-.
Yeah, I mean, that's you said right there. Knockdown, great year, but just not having a championship and just the injury, kind of having him miss that mid-summer section, kind of just I couldn't go higher than A-, like for me.
Yeah, kind of the same. I mean, I'm looking at this now going, well, the stats all back up for more, but what signature win? No All-Star title. I know the injury like was a part of that. It's not a down year. It's a great year.
No,
He still
absolutely.
was a contender in everything he showed up in. I just have a hard time holding an A+ for that's a special grade.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A+ is definitely a special grade. Brett, what do you think about Tyler's year?
I think I like the Jay-Z Chris route here, A-. I think when you get to that like A+ pinnacle, highest possible rating, 100%, 99, whatever you want to talk about, we're putting people like Brad Sweet up there. Guy won a bunch of races, a model of consistency. I'm not going to say that, it's not a black eye on Courtney's season, the whole back injury thing, but it definitely was a setback. I think we'd be having a much different conversation right now if he just went about his business, didn't miss a month or whatever it was worth of racing. He'd probably be the all-star champion outright, and it probably wouldn't have been close. So I think anything less than an A- is probably not justified. That guy can wheel a race car. And then I was there the night he won at Port, and he I don't think many guys come into places like Port and seem to have great nights. Like that place seems to be a PA. Those guys are good there, and he came in and I mean he had to pass race cars to win that night. So I think in the whole body of work season wise, I think an A- is probably justified. I think we'd probably even bump him up even more if he went and won another All Star title.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're splitting hairs between an A and an A-. Great season by Tyler.
Same ballpark.
Yeah. Talk about splitting hairs. His direct competition, Zeb Wise. What a year for him. And everybody else really thought so. A+ from Jay-Z, Chris, and the viewers, 33%. I went A- only because his direct competition, Tyler Courtney, even though he missed all that time, had better stats than him. He had more top fives, more top tens, same amount of wins, both won at Port. So that's the only reason I went down. Still an absolute career year for Zeb. Still won the title. Amazing year for him. And I think, sky's the limit for this guy. JC Chris.
You won the title. Gets the A+ there, and it showed a lot of consistency with him over previous years, and even that team where it was kind of speed, crash, maybe not. Just showing it this year, I think it was just more consistent and a contender more often. At least even when he came around, like he won early in the year before the All-Star tour even started, I believe. Here,
He won the Grove opener.
yeah,
He won the Grove opener. Yep.
I'm A+ because the title helps. Okay, the title push. Did anybody at the beginning of the season say Zeb Wise is a title contender? Maybe themselves. I don't know if that was on a national thing. Like Tyler Courtney's got competition coming now. Jimmy's right on the stats. I'm all in. I agree with you. But if I took the record, if I take the history books on the 26, the last 3, 4, 5 years, if I take into account Zeb's expectations, probably maybe weren't like, hey, I'm an all-star champ this year. I'm going to win 11 races in 410 with how many full-time 410 years? Full-time?
Just his third, maybe?
Second or third.
Maybe.
Second or third.
Okay. Maybe. A+ all day long. And it's only the I believe this is just the beginning of scratching the surface on what he can be. And he won an all-star title this year. So for me, I don't think you could ask for a whole lot more. Changing rides once during the year. Changing rides didn't even start the year in this ride, right?
No,
Or
he
was it
started
last
it
year?
this year.
It was last year.
Last year was when
End
they
of last
switched.
year.
Okay, jumped in this thing, and they kind of got off to a good start, and then they kind of leveled off a little. But man, after like June, July,
Yeah, they took
every
off.
single night, quick times at Port Royal, quick times feature wins, big wins, winning at Port. Like, man, yeah, A plus all day long for me.
Brett, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think A or A plus here is probably justified. I mean, you win the championship of a national traveling series. I think you make a pretty good case for yourself right there. Um, at least what I'm looking at here, 11 wins on the season, 9 of which came in All-Star competition. Again, All-Stars are well, now they're high limit and merge deal, but they were seemingly to be a lot of Ohio area races. Zeb ventured out, won at the Grove in the preseason non-sanctioned race, and then won at Port Royal at the end of the year. Zeb's big crown jewel of the year is probably winning the 4 Crown Nationals. So throw that in the mix with an All-Star title. I just don't see how you can. I see the argument for an A plus. I wouldn't contest it. I like the A plus range here.
Great season by Zeb Wise. We'll see what they do next year. Going to the next driver, Justin Peck. Some would argue a tough year. Some would say it was a good year. Viewer stat B, 23%. Chris also went with a B. I went with the C plus. Jay-Z with a C. Jay-Z, you were the lowest, so let's go with you first.
Definitely bad luck award winner. So I didn't knock Rico for bad luck. So I'm not going to knock him for bad luck. But 78 races and 2 wins is not what they wanted, and not what I thought this year would be. He, showed speed, very consistent, was near the front, just never could. Even when he did finish these races, I watched a lot at Lincoln, right? Battling for third, fourth, and fifth with Brent, Chase Dietz, and like Freddie blew his doors off a lot of the season at Lincoln when he ran there. So I expected a lot more. I think they expected a lot more to have a season to win 2 races and over 78 races. Just is not gonna just it sucks. I hate it because I think that he's better than that. They are better than that, and it wouldn't surprise me next year they win 10 plus races around the country.
Yeah, I agree. I went with the C plus for pretty much all the same reasons you went. 2 wins, 29 top 5s, 49 top 10s, high limit win at Kokomo. Not a terrible year, but I think they had higher expectations for themselves, especially they seem to be gearing up to want to either go out on the Outlaw Tour or just go out nationally in some way or form. And I think they were probably hoping for maybe a little bit of a better season going into that, but they were still fast and they were always a contender. It just didn't seem like at the end of the night they were there. Chris, what do you think?
I think just overcoming that. I mean, probably 2 of the scariest crashes we saw up until World Finals was big. I mean, the big one at Bridgeport, also at Knoxville. I think Knoxville, he was set up really well for the Nationals through the prelim night until that crash. Would have liked to see how that would have went, and I think trying to put that into account is kind of where I think that hurt their performance some, to why they weren't as fast as they had been in years past. But they were still there. They were still in that top 10 contender mix, even overcoming a lot of that bad luck, and even Babs, he fired off and then didn't. Things like that all year long kind of plagued them.
Yeah.
So I hope they get that worked out. I think it's cool watching what they're building and how they're building it year to year, from All-Star now kind of taking the chance this year to kind of not even follow a tour, do more of the true outlaw stuff, and now whatever they plan for next year.
Brett, your opinion on Peck's year?
I actually like Jimmy's grade here. I think the C plus area. I think it was on a grading scale. I would give it a passing year. It's obviously not the result they wanted, but I think in terms of picking a year to venture out to get some experience in a traveling, whether that means they want to go true outlaw next year or they want to go onto a series. They chose a pretty good year to do it with the formation of the high limits coming next year. He obviously had his fair share of bad luck, to include some nasty wrecks, one at Knoxville, one at Bridgeport. And they obviously, I would have liked to have seen them more in the win category a couple more times. Only one sanctioned win, and that's a high limit race. And the other one was a Lincoln Icebreaker. So, I think C plus is all right here. I think it's a passing grade. He's still fast, still has speed in that car. Just wasn't the overall body of work I'm sure those guys were expecting.
Absolutely. Viewers went with the B, so they probably allowed the same points there as Chris made. Still solid season for Peck. We'll see what happens next year. Buddy Kofoid. And this one maybe was kind of a little bit hard to do just because he didn't really race the East Coast very much. Jay-Z went with the B minus. I went with the B. Chris went with the C, and the viewers were tied between a B and a B plus. 5 wins, 3 of them outlaw. 29 top 5s, 52 top 10s. Solid year. He ran a lot with the Outlaws earlier in the year, and obviously there was the ride change where he went the 11 and went to the 83. But the 3 Outlaw wins stuck out to me because he really had a good beginning of his season, and he can jump in a midget, whatever. He can jump in whatever and be pretty fast. So I thought a pretty good year for him. It's kind of he's on a little bit of a different scale just because he's kind of all over the place. Maybe a little bit more wins is maybe what you would expect out of him, but with the ride change and everything, can't really knock that against him. Brett, what do you think about Buddy's year?
Yeah, I think this guy's a little bit of a different category than basically everybody else we talked about before. You see Buddy jump in a variation of cars and still be competitive. So I like Buddy. I enjoy watching him. That guy's an impressive wheelman, and he's still fairly young. So he's got plenty of years of racing to come ahead of him. I think I'd give him probably about I'd give him a B. 5, 4, 10 wins on a season. That's pretty good. I don't know how I found some statistics here for the national 410 rankings. He was 28th in 410 wins at 5 in the nation. So, I mean, that's got to be worth something, right? He matched shots in 410 wins. Granted, shots were all probably outlaw wins, but we knocked shots for having a rough year. So I can't really, can't give Buddy a superb score, and I can't say he did terrible.
Yeah, I agree. Chris, what do you think with the C?
Well, I think it's just like you hit on it with started the year off really strong. I felt like before the ride change, they were really strong. He was fast. I thought could be a contender most of the year, and then they switch. And I don't know. He had blew a motor somewhere leading to one of that. Is it Huset's?
The big race.
Right, the big one. He blew the motor. He probably wins that race, but doesn't. I don't know. Just seemed like he cooled off as the year went on, so I kind of just had to put mediocre grade on it.
That's fair. Jay-Z, what do you think about Buddy's year?
I might have been a little bit higher than some because I think he is raw talent. He's the top 3 raw talent in our sport, and I think that it's just time, consistency, and laps. He ran 87 410 races this year, not including midgets, not including sprint car, wingless, 360, whatever. This guy was behind the wheel all damn year. And I feel like they were like, here, man, we're going to give you every opportunity to go get all the laps you need and see what 2024 brings. So for me, I think the B minus is a potential, not necessarily what he did, because I think what he did was if he ran 87 races at every track, there's probably a ton of tracks he never saw before until this year. So I feel like he's in that like Zeb Wise category, without all the wins. Like talent is all there, got all the seat time, bounced around some rides, getting comfortable. Hopefully they can build Toyotas that'll stay together for him. We'll see. I like where he's headed for 2024 if he has some consistency in rides.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he stays in that 83 next year, what his plan might be. I think he's somebody that, he just jumps in so much different stuff that who knows, he probably wouldn't be a guy that goes out on a tour full time unless, the ride was right. So we'll see. Going to the next one, Brian Brown. And this one was kind of all over the place. Viewers went with a 22% B minus. I went with an A minus because of the Tusky 50 and the 360 Nationals. I mean, those are 2 big races. I know it's a 360 race, but it's still a lot of really good competition. I know it's at his home track, but still 7 wins, 22 top 5s, 31 top 10s, 2 huge races that he won. I bumped him up a little bit and also he came here to PA and he looked the best that he's ever looked in PA. Jay-Z went with the C plus.
Yeah, I like Brian Brown, but I think there's a little bit of overhype here. Like, he's a good guy, great interview, good looking car, says all the right things, just doesn't win very freaking much. Like, great win for him this year. Tusky 50, the 360 Nationals. Again, he can take and be as happy as he wants to going to the bank. But when I look at just the numbers, racing all over the country and mostly Knoxville Weekly. Where are we here? 7 wins. I expect him to have that every year. If he ran Knoxville all season, he should have 7 wins. Even if Knoxville only runs 8 times, they run less than Williams Grove for Christ's sake. 22 top 5s and 31 top 10 in 64 races. So 31 top 10s would put him in the territory of Corey Eliason, Lance Deweese.
That's fair.
Racing locally. I just don't see it.
He wasn't really that local though. He traveled out more than he ever did.
I get it.
He was fast with the Outlaws almost every night, and it was noticeable to me.
Like, he's not a young guy. He's been doing this a long time. And I appreciate everything he is when he gets behind the microphone, what he talks about, what he does. But where are the numbers? Like, the 2 signature wins, I love. I'm happy for him because that's been the thing. When's a Knoxville win coming? Okay, it's 360 Nationals, but it's 360 Nationals. Everybody's a fan of Brian Brown, but everybody knows he don't win big races. And really, for what he gets hyped up about, it's not that impressive. C+.
It's fair. Chris, you went with B.
Everything that you said with the Tuscarora 50, with the 360 Nationals, is why I went with B. Likeable guy. I think those 2 wins could maybe spell more big signature wins next year. I'm a Brian Brown homer. I would love for him to win the Fort Head Nationals, but B for me.
Brett, what do you think about Brian Brown's year?
I like the B range in here. He's got 7 wins on the year. One of them was an outlaw win at Knoxville back in June. 5 total wins at Knoxville. 6 total wins at Knoxville. 6 if you count the 360 Nationals win. So I mean, he picked up some crown jewels this year that I think you just kind of can't overlook. I mean, he won the Tuscarora 50, and let's not act like he didn't look good doing it. I mean, the guy, once he cleared Randall, albeit it was tight racing, the guy, he was gone. I mean, at that point, there was no touching the guy. Came to PA, won another Sealands Grove race earlier in the year. That was
he mopped them up there.
I think that was the week before the Sealands Grove National Open. I don't think it was Brett Marks won the National Open there, didn't he?
Right. Yeah, it was the race before that.
So I mean, the guy ventured a good bit this year, and I feel like we talked about him, or at least his name popped up a bunch in a couple high limit shows. So I mean, I think a B is probably fair for him. Second in Knoxville Nationals, or the Knoxville Speedway points, a guy that's typically first or second there. And he was only second to Austin McCarroll, who again is another guy I feel like we've talked about more than ever this year, and especially in the high limit deal. So I think a B is probably pretty fair for Brownie's season.
Yeah, I can't argue with a B either.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about this a second. Brian Brown's not in contention to win that Tuscarora 50 if Brent doesn't back himself into the wall.
But he did. So
I'm just saying he was a distant 3rd and 4th at that point. Chase Randall, I don't expect Chase Randall to go win Tuscarora 50 at his age and youth, and he almost still did. I expect Brian Brown in second to go win that freaking race when he's in second, and he had every opportunity. All these there was cars that were good that just kept falling out. Someone had to win the damn race. He didn't.
If I'm racing for $62,000, I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week.
I don't blame you. Again,
he was the best at Port. I thought he looked the best at Port Royal this year than he's ever did when he comes to PA. He's got more consistency. He was up there almost all the time. He ran a lot of laps there. He ran a lot. He looked I think that was the other thing too. Maybe it was like recency bias, but him coming to PA, he was actually a factor, like a top 10 factor almost every race. Even with the National Open, he was right there.
It's good we didn't grade previous years because he'd have gotten D's and F's from me previous years if this is his best year.
Jay-Z's going to make me go A.
Come on, Chris. Bring it, critter. Bring it. We're just getting started.
We got one more true outlaw, all-star guy left. And Corey Eliason. I went with a C-. Jay-Z, Chris with the C. Viewers went 20% with the C+. All in that C range. 2 wins, 16 top 5s, 33 top 10s. Not terrible, but he was never... For me, he just never was a factor to win races.
Yeah, I got to go first because I got to take a leak. This is the definition of mid, and that's all I got. I'll be back.
Fair enough.
And
Chris?
right, we saw that car earlier in the year be really fast up front with Buddy,
Yep.
and then it wasn't. So I can't go higher than a C when it's just more Corey doing Corey Elias and things. He's there fast once in a while, and then is kind of just in the field other times. So Jay-Z's mid is probably exactly right.
Brett, what'd you think?
I think these are right on par for what I was going to say for Eliason. I mean, I actually really liked Eliason last year when he was competing in the Redeem car. I thought he seemed better last year than he did this year.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I feel like he maybe relevancy kind of dropped off a little bit this year, but it's still weird. Like he'd show up and sometimes be in the conversation in races that you didn't expect him to be at. So I think a lower passing grade is probably all right. I mean, the guy travels the country racing sprint cars, so it's a win in my book.
Yeah.
And to pick up 2 wins doing so, I mean, I think a low passing grade is acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't tear stuff up. He's solid. He shows speed at times. But there's a reason why he lost that ride. You know, going in the next year, hopefully he'll find something. I know he was with RSR or whatever this past weekend. I don't know if that goes into anything next year, but he'll find a ride and he'll be good somewhere. Hopefully. I mean, we'll see. All right, we're gonna get into posse now.
This
Good insight.
is where I peace out, boys.
All right. See you, Brett.
I buy parts from guys in here. You know, some of them are my friends. This is where I'm out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I knew you had to get out of here at 9. Thanks so much for joining us.
My season was a tale of 2 stories. I'll give myself my 410 season probably like a D. My 358, I'll give myself like a B.
I'll give you an A because you looked really fast at Port Royal until
you know that still hurts. It took a lot of confidence to go up there and run that place because I've never done it before. That's it. One of the things too, maybe just my own perspective. I don't get to race as much as a lot of these guys, anywhere near as much as these guys we're talking about. But Port Royal, going from Port Royal to Lincoln or going to like these Indiana, like Lawrenceburg, like these shorter tracks to Port Royal, it's a whole different ballgame. It's super speedway racing. So I think giving guys like Brian Brown some credit for that, the performance he put on the Tuscarora 50 is, in my mind, it's like I view it a little differently, but it's pretty cool. But yeah, we'll be back at Port next year when I have functioning motors. That
hell yeah, let's go.
We got some plans for next year. It's just we got to fall into the right
410 plan still.
Yeah, that's the plan. I picked up a second 410 at the end of the year. So try and spend the off season getting them ready come March, April, and we'll run 20, 25, 30 races. I don't know. We'll see. It just depends.
Well, that's awesome. I'm excited.
Thanks for being here, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Hey,
and good luck with iRacing Pro Series too. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's all right. I'd rather be real racing. It's just a consolation prize for me. But yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me. I'd like to do this again, another time.
Yeah, we'll have you on again.
All right,
thanks,
see you, fellas.
Thanks, Brett, again for joining us. Let's get into the posse now. And we're gonna go Brett Marks, Jay-Z Chris with an A. Viewers split 27% even between A and A plus. I also went with an A plus. And the only reason I gave him the extra plus was the National Open win, the big crown jewel win. He had as many wins as Rico. He had pretty similar stats to him. Rico, sweet, gravel. I mean, pretty close for the amount of races he ran. Won a crown jewel, was fast everywhere he went. I mean, I know it's not what he did last year, but still pretty damn good.
And that's exactly right. It's a pretty damn good year. Probably not. I mean, how do you match last year? I don't think you do. But again, threat every time he showed up at the racetrack, just takes off whenever he wants. It shows back up and starts winning again. So, Sealands Grove National Open, right? Williams Grove National Open. When he was racing, he was definitely a contender. Tuscarora 50, as Jeremy said, he probably wins that race too if he doesn't just make a mistake there. But yeah, all in all, it's a solid year.
Yeah, man. That A plus is special. No high limit, no outlaw, no local track. The National Open special. I mean, if it was 20 grand plus on the line, he was in the top 3. that's what he shows up to do. I make jokes like he don't get out of bed for a race that's less than 10 grand to win. Like, don't have to. I looked at it; it's over $1 million in winnings in the last 2 years. So if we take last year's A plus plus and this A, we'll give him an A plus the last 2 years. Um, Obviously, I'm a fan. I love the success. I could see that like he had the ability to do this all along. It just had to be the right situation. And I will take him on against any driver in the world in a dirt 410 sprint car if he's comfortable.
Yep.
Period. End of story. So probably an A is probably me bashing him, but it's not just because of last year. Like, man, the only way he would have topped this year is win the million. So, and listen, that's special too. So,
Mm.
hell of a year, hell of a 2 year span. Enjoy the all season, my friend. Get ready for 2024. Looking forward to seeing him back out there.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we're all pretty much agreement. I mean, a phenomenal season by Brent Marks. And like I said, when you're looking at the stats, he's right there with Rico, Sweet, Gravel. I mean, he's right there, and he has the big wins to back it up. And he was a threat anywhere he went. So phenomenal season by Brent Marks. Hopefully he keeps that up. Next one, Anthony Macri. And some of these are going to get a little weird because I didn't know what car to use for these graphics because there's so much
All
ride.
of them make a montage.
Yeah. Jay-Z went with a B plus. I went with the C plus. Chris with a B minus. And then the viewers were a little wild. 15% going with an F.
This is where the haters are.
And 50% with a C minus. And listen, I looked at his stats, and even with that, I was just kind of like, I wanted to give him an F too because it was such a good thing going in the beginning of the year. He was on track, I felt like, to have a year that Brett had last year. You know what I mean? I felt like he was on that path. And whatever happened, listen, mental health, family issues, whatever. I get it. I can't knock it too much. But I mean, it took all the wind out of his sails. He still ended up with 8 wins, 40 top 5s, and 49 top 10s. That's not including whatever happened this past week at BAPS. But I think he might have got a top 10. Either way, still really good stats, but I couldn't give him more than a C plus just because it felt like it could have been so much more.
I mean, agreed. I went B minus. It was a hot start. Probably one of the hottest drivers in the country going into, the deal that everything blew up. But I had to go back from that and look at when he was out there with the NASCAR and stuff. It was underwhelming and kind of cooled off. I think he's more comfortable now, back into 39. And I think that shows some. And I hopefully going into next year's head's clear and everything there is healthy, and we can kind of see what happens. As I agree, there was a lot of left on the table for him, but I think with that, what he was going through, we don't really know, but
right,
it was enough that it obviously affected him, and still was running top 10-ish, just not winning.
Jay-Z B plus.
Okay, so if anybody like that's watching this is close to me at all probably knows I'm not the biggest fan of Anthony Macri. I don't really like his attitude. I don't like the way he interviews. I don't like his smug little fucking smile, and then whenever he's interviewed half the time, kind of want to punch him in the mouth. But he's a phenomenal talent. Okay, a phenomenal talent. And for a guy who had like, I need to take a break. I don't want to do this. I blah blah blah. I'm worn out. He ran 80 fucking 1 races. So are you worn out or are you not, my guy?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to not race or do you want to race? Like, figure it out.
Yeah.
So get through your shit, figure it out. But 8 wins, 40 top 5s, and 49 top 10s. I understand the expectations going into the season, but when I look back on the season and what happened, it's pretty solid. Like, how many drivers in the country would want that season?
Yeah, absolutely. No,
right.
I
So,
don't
like,
disagree.
in my mind, yeah, this is a B plus for what this shit show could have ended up like.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't, and he's still good enough to do this. And Babs, he wasn't great at Babs this past weekend, but jumped back into 39, had speed. He didn't forget how to drive a car. He obviously wants a certain feel as a driver. He may not be that guy who could just go to another car and be like, "Oh yeah, cool, let's just go. It doesn't matter." Like, but we all know what the potential is if all this other stuff gets out of the way, I see next year double-digit wins,
Hmm.
competing in the year we talk about. So for me, maybe I was a little bit higher based on what he went through, whether it was self-induced or not. I don't know. We don't know the whole story. All I know is what I see. He can still drive a race car. It wasn't a failure of a year. Sure, he would have wanted more, but all things considered, he had 8 wins on the season. Look up
Yeah.
and down this list of people we've talked to that had 8 wins or more.
Yep. No, I get it. I get it.
Not many.
Statistically, it doesn't make sense for me to give him a C, but he went from being going into the million. He was a top 5 favorite. People were talking about him potentially being able to win the million, and
Yeah.
then where did it go? And so, I mean, if you went pre Eldora million, he's getting an A because he was tearing it up. And then the last half of the season didn't really do anything. So, and we bounced around different cars. You know, I know he filled in for Tyler Courtney and everything. I don't think he looked as bad as people made it out to be when he jumped in those other cars, but he still obviously wasn't doing what he was in the 39. He wasn't winning. Um,
I think he needs
yeah.
to have a fight with Danny Dietrich on the track again. Like, I think that needs to happen. Like, they're friends, but they need to fight again on the track just to get pissed off and like, But this year's over, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him next year. Uh, Schedule, staying local, whatever. But I think I agree with you. I think double-digit wins next year is
Yeah,
definitely
it's the
something that he
minimum.
can do.
It's the minimum, right?
Yeah,
Chris, what are your thoughts on this?
For what?
him next
Macri.
year.
I already talked about my thoughts on Macri here.
Next year, what do you think?
Next year.
No, I think if they get together, they go right back to where they were, and just start tearing it up again. I think.
Like tearing up the team, or you mean tearing up like the
I'm
competition?
hoping the competition.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Like it would be another competitive PA car. I don't know what their plans would be, but hopefully, whatever happened this year is a reality check for them. Maybe they stretch themselves too thin, whether it be resources or mentally or physically or all of the above, and don't do that again, and just figure it out and go out and win all these big races that they're clearly capable of doing it. They were second in high limit points until everything blew up. So,
Yeah.
that would be great for me to watch them do that and get more Anthony Macri interviews to piss Jeremy off.
Well, let's see what happens for him next year. Let's get in the next driver. And Lance DeWeese. Now, he was the guy that took over for him last second. JC Chris went with a C. Myself and the 28% of the viewers went with a B. Mine was a little bit higher just because he was on such a limited schedule. And, he still had 4 wins, 17 top 10s, 17 top 5s, 29 top 10s, and he did win the Weikert. He pretty much was top 10 in everything from August and September on. And, he was in and out of stuff. So definitely it was interesting year for him. We'll see how he does in that Sheer 12 next year. I know Chris has high expectations for that. I'm not as high on that. But I thought, considering, I didn't think he had that bad of a year in the 69K before he got kicked out. He wasn't doing what they were doing, but it was still pretty good. He was still always a threat when outsiders came in here in PA. He went to Eldora, didn't do bad at all. He did pretty well for his first Kings Royal and did the Eldora Million. So I thought a B was pretty solid for him.
I went with C. It was just, like you said, it was solid. There wasn't the Lance Luis moments we're used to. Partly the ride changes do that. I agree. The 69K, he was still decent until that kind of fell apart. It was just a decent year. I don't know that he'd be overly satisfied with how it went. Still a good year, not probably one that's memorable for all the right reasons, but still a solid year, and see what next year brings.
Jay-Z?
He's an all-time great National Sprint Car Hall of Famer. I just wonder if his best times are beyond him, or past him at this point. He's not young.
Yeah.
The 69K, obviously, they made a change because the job wasn't getting done. Lance DeWeese having 4 wins in a season where he runs 50 races just isn't it. That's where I'm at. I don't care what car it's in. You're a National Sprint Car Hall of Famer at this point. Sammy Swindell may have won 4 races this season. He's 90, okay, in 45 different
Yeah,
cars.
but he's not running PA. He's running against 7 guys
care.
out in bumblefuck nowhere.
It's not for lack of rides. So what is it? So at this point, I don't love. I hope he bounces back. I'm a fan. I never was a fan. I was more of a fan since he got to 69K. I wasn't a fan of his as I was growing up. Didn't really go to Port, and he didn't want to go to Lincoln very often. I didn't get to the Grove a ton, so like I missed out on the early part of his career to maybe be a fan, but I wasn't a fan. I am more of a fan now and hope for his success because he's a fan favorite. But this was a disappointment.
I don't know if it's disappointing. I mean,
it's disappointing, Jimmy.
It's disappointing because he got kicked out of 69K.
It's just a lot of sad disappointment.
And into a better car. 17 top fives and 40
Arguably a better car. I mean, it wasn't. That was like a day before get in the car thing, and then just kind of working on it from there. I mean, it's not going to be. And he wasn't like terrible. It's not like he was missing features or anything. He just wasn't winning races. He was just running top 10. So I don't think it was for his part-time schedule. I don't think it was that bad of a year.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Next one.
This would be fun. The next two are going to be real chaos.
Yes, they are. This is the ones everybody was probably waiting for. Danny Dietrich, Jay-Z and Chris both with a C+.
I'm glad Jay-Z's on his hill with me.
I'm very surprised that I'm way higher than you guys. And the viewers also agreed with me with a BP plus 70% each, 17% each between those two. 6 wins, an all-star win out in Ohio, 41 top 5s, 56 top 10s, and actually make that 7 wins because these stats were before BAPS. 25, and at that, I had a B plus before that. It's definitely, I think the B plus is definitely justified now after a $25,000 to win race win. I know it's probably not what they expected because they ran almost 90 races, but it's still a very solid year. He was always fast, but
So
go ahead, Chris.
He makes me look dumb by going out and winning the BAPS show, but I'm a Danny guy compared to you two. It's just there was the wins. He had the wins, but not in the marquee events. He still had the thing where like the National Open and the other races where he's starting mid to back in the back, and yeah, he was hard charger, but we want him to be not back there. And same, like Freddie's next to be the same kind of thing. He didn't have the marquee wins. He was second, solid year, just not to their expectations. No track championship. High limit kind of fell apart for him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, we know he can drive. We know he's fast, and we know he's entertaining. That's why I want to see him win more because it's entertaining when he does.
Yeah, George, we're fans too, but you're dumb, just like a fan because you're a fan and you're dumb. So if you take the statistics, he didn't have a better year. But here's where I'm at with this. This is simply strictly wins versus expectation. Like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I'm ready to get the season over, move on, whatever. He makes a tweet after his win going, I wish the season was still going. Like, oh, no shit, my guy. You mean winning helps solve a lot of problems in your head? No shit. Like, oh, winning solves problems. Ask an NFL team. Winning solves problems. We're all better friends when we're winning. 6 wins in 87 races just isn't it. And he knows it. Everybody knows it. I'm not playing politics here, and I'm not taking a side. It's simply the facts. 56 top 10s and 41 top 5s. Expectations. There should be 12 plus wins on this sheet, and he would say so. Everybody should be saying so. A BB plus, to me, that's a lot to me. I just don't see it. I can't see it there because of the wins. He goes out to win races, period. He ain't racing for points. He's talked about on Twitter today about points championships. He's not out to win points championships. He runs Friday nights at Williams Grove every week because there's nowhere else to go Friday nights. And still misses some of those, right? He was on Twitter today talking about point funds not being enough money. That's why people don't race for points. I don't care about a Williams Grove championship. I know it cared in the moment, but he's racing for wins. 6 wins in 87 races ain't it. C plus.
I can't disagree totally with that. It's 7 wins. 7 wins because of the BAPS one now.
Races,
and that matches Devin Borden, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, and is more than DeWeese, almost as much as Macri, and more than the rest of the guys that we're going to talk about. So in terms of PA, I mean, he's still top 2-3 guy. I could probably argue more of a B. Maybe I would knock it down to a B just because when it does come National Open time or, any of the big races, he just doesn't seem to be there.
He the Tuscarora 50.
He won the non-qualifiers race, yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah, but I'm saying that means he missed the Tuscarora 50. That's the
that interview was the most painful interview, by the way, I've ever watched, because he won the race and had to talk, but had the absolute disgust of not making the main event.
Right,
Like,
which is
it was the biggest, like, wow, is this like happening kind of moment.
But that's what I wouldn't. I mean, I get where he's coming from. You're there not to win the non-qualifiers race. That's like Brett Strickler just said for the Irish thing. It's a consolation prize, a good one that pays and gets him in the field next year. But he doesn't want to have to use it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's definitely a down year for him, but I think it wasn't a terrible year either. But yeah, I mean, see what happens for him next year. You do expect maybe double-digit wins out of him. And speaking of double-digit wins, how about the man who won the most 410 races out of anybody in the country, Freddie Raymer? And listen,
this is fun.
Jay-Z with a B+, I went with an A-, Chris with an A. This is where I get frustrated with some viewers. And it's kind of funny because you realize how polarizing this Freddie-Danny rivalry is. 20% gave Freddie an F. The man who won 17 fucking races.
2 championships.
I get it, at Lincoln, but still, beat your boy's ass every fucking week. You're not gonna give him the respect to give him at least a passing grade. 18% went with an A+. I can see an A+ because of how many wins, but my detractor was most of them at Lincoln. He did look good against the Outlaws at Lincoln. He looked good in the bigger races there. He wasn't terrible at Williams Grove when the big guns came in, but still didn't take that extra step yet where you expect him to be like a Marks or Macri or even a DeWeese to be up there in the top 10 battling the Outlaws. He did have that top 10 in the makeup feature of the Outlaws after the National Open, but to give him an F is just so ignorant. I understand if you don't like the guy, but you got to at least respect the game a little bit. But hey, listen, it's all trivial. It's all your opinions. And it's my opinion that you're fucking stupid. Chris, Jay-Z.
Chris, go ahead, because I'm going to fire the fuck off here in a second.
Yeah. I was 17 wins, 14 at Lincoln, Lincoln Track Championship, Williams Grove Track Championship, the Central PA Championship. For a guy that's goal is to race locally and be really good at home.
That's a good point.
You checked all the boxes. He's not going out to Eldora and winning because he's not planning to go out to Eldora and win the million. He's not trying to go to Knoxville and win. He's here. He has his own life, and he's here doing the racer life that he wants to do. Racing full-time locally at PA, he goes home every day. And when he's here, he's really good. I wish I received some like the National Open and things like that. He wants to win those too. When they happen, it's going to be big. And I think you've seen some steps in that direction. We had him on in the last offseason where they struggled with time trial and things that we saw some steps in that direction this year.
Yeah.
So A for me, solid, beyond solid year. And the only way to get to A+ would be to win the Tuscarora 50 or the National Open.
Yeah, but win a bigger race. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a B+ simply for that matter. Just a big race time. Probably a little bit. I'm probably a little light with my B+. It probably was more like an A-. But again, we're splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah.
But here's where I'm at with this. This viewer fan vote is politics. If you hate one, you love the other. Period. This is whatever party you root for. The other party could cure cancer, and you'd still give them an F. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Get over yourself.
Because I mean, we did have a lot of F's for Danny, which
like, do you think you're making a statement by giving him an F? Like, oh, look at me, oh, that's hilarious. Hey, F that guy. Respect, man. Like 17 wins is not giving anybody anything. Your boy got shit on with 6 wins. If you voted F because you're a Danny fan, respect. Like, you don't have to like him. I don't like Anthony. I gave him the highest damn grade on this chart between my peers here that do like him. Grow up. You're freaking adults. Grow up.
Maybe.
That's all I got.
We don't know if they're adults or not.
It was just so wild.
Adults. Grow up. You don't even have to like how he races, but winning 17 races is not by accident. Winning 17 races isn't because of your dirty driving style. There's nights he dominated those races.
He won most of those with the
Dominated.
handicap, man. He was starting 12th.
Right.
Yeah,
Passing
starting
everybody.
eighth to 10th in a heat, and then starting 12th in a feature every damn night. Like, stop it. Just stop it. So I probably, and listen, I'm defending the guy, and I gave him the lowest grade of my peers here. Okay. So grow up, act like an adult, enjoy what you're seeing right now, because it doesn't happen often.
It's true. Yeah, because he could go next year and win 6 races. You don't know. I mean,
never
that
know.
was just it was it's not a year that you see that often. And I understand it's all at one track, and that's why we kind of docked a little bit. But I mean, even against the Outlaws, he looked good. He was probably gonna that one race, the first
Jimmy,
race back in
Jimmy,
March.
wait.
Borden was there. I think did Rico or Brad win?
But hang on a second. Can you go back a second? What did you give Lance, Jimmy?
I gave him a B.
But it was against Posse, and he only had 4 wins.
Yeah, and he didn't race as many races.
But you said it was because he races in PA, not against nobodies. This guy
He
had
shows up
17
against the Outlaws.
This guy had 17 wins.
Yeah,
But he races
and he got an
against
A
PA
minus.
all the time. Are you
He
sure?
got an A minus.
No, his grade's right. Are you sure Lance is not just because you like him?
There was definitely some homer bias there.
Sure, maybe a little extra bump bias, but for him being part time, he won a Weikert and he showed up against bigger competition.
Yeah, no, I get
was
it.
there.
I'm just fucking with you, but right. I don't care if it's Lincoln. It's not. This isn't Podunk, Mississippi, racing against 8 cars every night. This is Central PA, Lincoln Speedway. Competition level is as good as it gets on a weekly basis. What was the statistic I read today? In the last 5 years, how many races have been ran at local tracks? Check this out. 410 wing races per track since 2015. Number 1 in the entire country, Lincoln Speedway, 223 races.
The most races ran.
They've run the most races since 2015 of any racetrack, 410 in the country.
Well, then Freddie has more chances to win.
This guy won 17 times at that track, and so did everybody else in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree.
Right? So I'm just saying, like, it's not like it's the middle of nowhere. Plymouth Dirt, right? Rivers, or I'm sorry, let me go down here. What was that one? It was Plymouth 6, Selinsgrove 6, King Speedway 6. There's races. 410s have raced at some tracks 6 times since 2015. 223 times around here.
Selinsgrove ran 410 6 times in 2023. That's a different one.
Oh, it was the different Selinsgrove?
Yeah.
There's more?
No. That was a different
list. That was the 2023 list.
Oh, it was down further. Sorry. But anyway, I think you get my point. Mm-hmm. This guy won 17 races at a track that they raced the most since 2015. And they raced a lot of races this year, but everybody that came there weekly to run for points had the same chance to win he did. And actually, we're handicapped in better spots.
Right.
He kicked everybody's ass. Respect it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think I understand you don't have to give him an A+, but I just think an F is just being ignorant. But listen, it's your report cards, man. That's cool. But
let's go make fun of some more people who can't spell.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that here. A couple more left here before we get into your honorable mentions. Chase Dietz, and I really wanted to give him an A. I should have went with a. I think I was supposed to put a B+ on there, but I think I want B-. Let's just say B-. He did what he did with the Silver Crown. I'll give him an A. But just strictly 410s, 3 wins, 9 top 5s, 21 top 10s. Actually, you can bump top 5, one more top 5 up, and top 10 up from this past weekend from BAPS. 2 Lincoln wins, 1 Williams Grove win. He did look fast, faster than I think he's looked in recent years. Not a bad season. Mostly Lincoln. Jay-Z, you went with an A. Chris, you went with an A+. The viewers went B+, 17% each.
Chris, A+, you first.
I just was impressed with talking with him over the offseason, coming out with a new team, and he came out fast from day one, and just every time that I was at a track and he was there, he was a contender to be top 5 or win. I think that spoke volumes to his program and what he's building there, and I just wanted to reward him for that.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I watched him in the 39 the last couple of years, it was like they couldn't time trial for shit, and he'd have to go race his ass off to pass cars and make finishes out of it. This thing came out, fresh parts and pieces, brand new deal, time trialing, heat racing, passing cars from day one. Had some bad luck, had a couple crashes, took some time off, managed his season the way it went. I couldn't have been more impressed with the consistency of the speed that car had from the minute it came off the trailer. He won the very first heat race he was in this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Rolled it off the trailer, first time on the track, won a heat race. Like that doesn't happen very often. Like, and it was like clean, clear, walked away from it. That car has had speed all year long from day one. Very, very impressed. I think he's probably one of the more underrated drivers in the country, and I think Silver Crown showed that this year.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hope to see that team
Right.
build and grow and see what that could turn into.
Like, agreed. I really want to see their plans for next year and see what's coming because it's exciting. It's one of those guys that kind of just popped up. It was kind of like you said, overlooked, and is now made a name. And I think it's going to be as that grows more exciting even next year.
Be interesting to see I'm hoping he does Silver Crown again next year. I mean, he looked really, really good.
That's the plans.
I'm
So-
honestly surprised that the fan grade is so low, considering his following is wild.
I think part of it, and one reason I went with a B was just it's such a limited schedule, and I understand he's doing other stuff too, but it's hard to give him a higher grade than some of these other guys we're talking about because they're there every week.
Well, again, is it expectations versus
Right.
what happened?
Right.
I was on expectations there. Like,
That's
with
what
what I
I was.
expected.
The expectations of not knowing. He could blow up on week 3, and then we don't see him till August.
Right. And that's what he
He
said. He needed to come out and do
together
his thing.
and show up and be fast. Again, Jimmy, I don't blame you for a B number because not tons of wins. Not when we talk about these other drivers in Central PA, Danny 6 wins and there's 17 wins and there's 8 wins and there's 4 wins. I get it. Like I'm totally understood. But listen, I didn't know if he'd run 20 races. So for to come out what he's done the last couple of years, his performance to what this year is, outstanding.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he definitely took a step up and really opened a lot of eyes to him this year, and hopefully he gets a couple more wins next year, whether it's a Silver Crown or a 410. Let's go to the next driver, Troy Wagaman. Chris and Jay-Z with a B+, the viewers with 25% B. I also went with a B. 3 wins, 17 top 5s, 25 top 10s, 2 at the Grove, 1 at Baps. Awesome year. He should have almost had 25 grand this past weekend.
Yeah,
he's looked so good in that 27 car since he's gotten in it. I think the only reason I didn't go with an A was just because that first half of the season wasn't that great.
Right. And I agree. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of he was there and they were figuring it out and had the fortune for him, unfortunate for Billy, when the issue when Billy jumped the curb and junked his race car, got Troy that win, Williams Grove, which was awesome. And then he goes and backs it up and then goes and wins at Baps in October, holding off a strong field of cars. Wish he would have pulled it off again this past weekend, but this is a solid year.
Jay-Z?
Tale of 2 seasons. And he'd have an A if he started the season in 27, I think, because I think where it's been going and where it started. So I think the first night out they went quick time at Lincoln, their first race together, they went quick time and time trials.
Something like that.
Car's been sitting in mothballs for fucking 6 months, like a year, and they pull it out and go quick time. So I've watched Troy's career from day one, and I call him a friend. I've raced with him at Speedway 94 before he got in a sprint car, and watched him grow up. Essentially, he's not a kid anymore, but like the progression he's made as a driver, he's smart. He takes care of his equipment. He knows how to pass cars. He doesn't take chances when he doesn't have to. Gets the job done when it's supposed to be done. That race goes green Saturday night at Baps. He wins 25 grand.
Absolutely.
Danny slid in victory lane. I think we could all see it. He may not have been the best car at the end, but he had enough room to finish that race off and win it. What they've done in that 27 and building that team and all new people, right? Troy walking into it and them trying to create a relationship and get that thing going, I think is starting to show off what kind of driver Troy is. And when I just talked about Chase being one of the underrated drivers in the country in our area, Troy's right there with him. And I think we all know that. And I think we saw the potential at the end of the 19 run before he blew up the last time. He won a race at Lincoln, My next thing now, next year, he wins a Lincoln race, he wins a Speed Week race, he wins something 15 grand or more. It's that next step, and that's
Yep.
my Jeremy's expectations for that team in Troy next year, and I can't wait. I'm excited.
Right. I'm real excited. Troy's obviously every time I've talked to the pits is always nice, and obviously friends of ours and being on the show. But even every time I see him in the pits, even after the win at Babs, he took time to talk to me. He was just there by himself. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So hope to see that continue next year.
Yeah, I think I'm with Jeremy. I think expectations are going to be pretty. They might end up being kind of lofty for him, but I think it's something that he and that team can handle. If you think about what he did in that 27, he's right up there. If he was able to do that across a full season, he's right up there with a Lance, Danny, type of stat line. And, I could see him being a guy that maybe he's like, when the Outlaws come to town, somewhere he can maybe show out for the
Right.
posse. You know
And
what I mean?
I think Jeremy, you might remember better. Before we got completely Noah's Ark at Babs for the Outlaw show, I think Troy was pretty high up in the time trial order.
I don't remember. I don't.
I
I knew it was
remember.
going to rain, so it didn't matter. I kind of forget, to be
That's true.
honest.
You
But
did ditch me there to die.
I
Anyway,
best decision of my racing season was leaving that day.
I had fun.
All right, we got 3 more left. Way I kind of did this with the posse guys. We had our 4 main guys: Marks, Macri, Deweese, Dietrich, and then I had 3 Lincoln guys and 3 Port guys, which is who we're going to get into. Your Port Royal track champion this year, Devin Borden. Jay-Z with a B minus. I went with a B plus. Chris with an A minus, and then 20% of the viewers went with a B. A little bit scattered, but really good year for him. 7 wins, 5 of them at Port. Won the track title. Looked really good there. 25 top 5s, 44 top 10s. I could have went. I was between like a B and a B plus, but just because he won the track title, had so many wins, it was hard to not give him the plus. Jay-Z, you went with B minus.
Okay,
I'm
so
probably going to agree with every reason you say here.
it's hard to put a grade on this, and I did. I whatever. It is what it is. I'll stand by it. There's so much potential here, and there's so many things that
could have been.
I think it's maturity. I don't even want to say maturity because he's a mature guy. Like you talk to the guy, and he doesn't scream immaturity. It's behind the wheel maturity. I think it's laps, it's time, and the challenge here is I know the dynamic is you're in this car, you go win every fucking race that you put your wheel attached to. I don't care what happens. Well, we're looking at it going, man, we're rooting for the guy and he's destroyed the race car, made a mistake, hit the wall, spun it out, whatever. It's the same thing I talked about earlier about slowing a driver down to go faster. And I feel like does that hopefully he gets to that point. He's like Sheldon Haudenschild right now.
Yes.
You can win it
it's a good,
or you're upside down.
That's a good
And
analogy.
it won't last forever because someone's going to get tired of fixing shit or paying for shit. But so much potential. You know it's there. You see it's there. It's like just harness it this much and we go win 10, 12, 15 races. The year he had at Port was awesome. When he won those races, some of those, it was just absolutely dominant, visibly faster than the field at some nights. It just like put it together to be consistent. Be okay with third some nights. That's the world we live in. You don't tear shit up, so you can take that good third place car, tweak it that much, and go win the next week. That's the world we're living in. And listen, but at the end of the day, I'm not paying the bills. I'm not the car owner. If the car owner says, "Look, I want checkered flags or walking back with a steering wheel," then this is an A plus season. Like, but for me, I'm thinking like, man, I want to see this guy go beat the Outlaws and the All Stars when they come to town. I want those finishes. I don't want a steering wheel walking back in my hand or a checkered flag. So I go, maybe my expectations are different than the team. It's a B minus, but A plus potential.
Absolutely. Chris, you went with an A minus.
I mean, obviously being consistent enough to win the Port Royal Championship. Obviously really faster. I think up until the last few races, he is the only guy that have multiple wins there. Kind of puts me in that A category. I think more consistency of not crashing would help, obviously moving forward. And if this same season happens next year, I don't think I go A. But this is the second full year, I believe, locally. I think there's still the driver. He switched rides middle of last year. Still, I think there's learning some of the big track stuff. He got Port Royal down, but not really seeing it at Williams Grove as much. Definitely a gasser. Would like to see just more next year. But I think for as far as this year and where that team started and what their goals were, they're, I think, in line. At least as far as the championship goes and the multiple race wins.
Yeah, definitely a lot of potential there. They felt like maybe at times a little bit of meat on the bone. He there's a couple that he probably could have had, and something happened. He had some gnarly wrecks this year, but he was fast every time he was out, especially at Port Royal. He really impressed me at Lincoln in that outlaw race, man. Him and Freddie were battling for that win back in was it March. He looked really good there, best he's ever looked at Lincoln, and that really got the year kicked off to where it's like, all right, this is a guy that can come and compete against the best, and I think he's proved that. So hopefully more of the same next year, maybe a little bit better.
I don't think our Facebook comments are working, by the way. On our actual page, we have some comments that aren't coming through on our feed. A few. I said, us cunts should give him an A. That definitely for an Aussie fan. There was a couple comments that weren't coming through, so I don't know how many more might be in other socials. But sorry if we're not responding to your comments, guys.
Yeah,
they're not coming up. We'll not be seeing them, so do apologize for that.
We will go through afterwards and read them.
Two more. The next one is a little bit of a weird one. Logan Wagner in the 69K still is very weird. Very limited schedule, obviously, just runs Port pretty much. Everybody went with the C. I went with the C plus because he did get a win. And 1 out of 17 isn't terrible. Right. I mean,
what the hell?
Yeah, sure. And he did have 10 top 10s out of the 17. He had a couple pretty bad races. He didn't show up. Or I shouldn't say he didn't show up, but he didn't have a great. Did he blow up at the 50 or something like that? Yeah.
I believe so. Just torpedoed the whole thing, fire.
I'm excited to see him in that 69K for full season at Port Royal next year. I think, I don't know if he's going to run every race. I know he's not really points chasing or anything like that, but I think he could win some big races in that next year. It'll be definitely interesting. C plus year for him with some potential for next year. You guys?
Yeah, just a season that I think, even by his standards, there's nothing really to write home about. I mean, 1 win, that was with Zemco, right? Obviously, there was reasons he left. 69K. We'll see what next year is. Just a year, a solid one. You got to win.
Yeah.
Showed speed at times. I don't
know. C for see you next year, and let's go after 2024. Hopefully, there's a little bit of stability. This year was just chaos, and he was caught up in that, whether it's his own choosing or not. And listen, it takes time. They didn't necessarily. I don't recall, but maybe you guys do. When he jumped in the Zemco car, was it just lights out of the gate with that car?
It wasn't. When they rolled that off for opening day, it looked like
I think he
hasn't been rolled off the trailers.
I think he means when he first got in the Zemco car.
Oh, sorry.
Which I think he did hit the ground running pretty good, because that team was what? That was.
I mean, he's won 5 straight track titles.
Right. I think it was different then too. I don't think Port Royal then was the same Port Royal competition we had now, but I think they were solid, obviously, for the beginning. But yeah, this year, to Jimmy's point, that car got there for opening day. We're like, what the hell? Did you even clean this thing since the Tuscarora 50 or whatever?
Yeah, I just think let's see what 2024 brings. I don't know if I almost should have wrote incomplete, because I feel like it just was never really like a rhythm. It was always like, are they racing this weekend? Are they not? We're in flux. We heard something. We got caught up in something. We blew up, changed rides. Just see you next year.
Yeah.
For C.
Yeah. I don't disagree. What George in the comments here said, hot take, the Macri and DeWeese drama gifted him the Port Royal title, meaning Borden. I don't think so, because
it's not a hot take. He's going to say it's not a hot take. That's a wrong take, George. They weren't even going to race for the title, so congratulations, buddy.
Yeah, our Facebook comments are not working. They're grayed out here. I don't know why. I apologize. We'll try to get to them here at the end. One more driver, and then we'll get to your write-in. Dylan Sisney. Is it going to go here? Come on.
No. Is it going to crash again?
No, we're good. Jay-Z with a C, me with a B minus, Chris and the viewers with a solid B. 23% from the viewers. I could see a B. 2 wins, 23 top 10s, 10 top 5s. He looked good everywhere he went. I mean, he looked really good at Selinsgrove. He probably could have won a couple at Selinsgrove this year. He got opening day there. Him and Danny were battling. He led a lot of that race, and then Danny took that away, and the race Brian Brown won there too. He ran second. He looked really fast. So he's been getting there year by year. I feel like he's more of a threat wherever he unloads outside of Port Royal too. You know what I mean? And even at Port Royal, you just expect him to be up there. Jay-Z, you went with C.
I want this so badly to be better, and just not there for me yet. And listen, I'm a fan. Like, I'm a fan when Dylan Sisney wins a race. Like, I'm here for it. He's a fan favorite. I I just feel like it disappears for like a month or two, and then has a good run, and everybody's like, "Oh shoot, he's still here." Like, I don't know, man. Like, I just the consistency, the speed can be there at times, and then I feel like I'm like, what the hell is he doing back there? Why is he so far behind everybody? So it's like it's this on and off thing, but even when it's on, it's not like dominant on. It's like I might win a race on, right? Like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just my expectations versus reality. Maybe my expectations are higher than they should be. I don't know. I don't know. I just felt very like, and there's times I've talked him up this year and was like, damn, Selinsgrove, like time trials, quick times, running up front, and then I'm like, the hell is he doing in the back of the C? He ran his heat. What happened here? So I don't know. Maybe I didn't pay attention enough, but I feel like I did. I just need to see more.
I think that's why I went with B is just not knowing in and outs of their program. I think that a 2-win season and where they ran at was kind of what they're obviously more is better, but that's kind of where they're at and kind of where they want to be is getting those wins when they can and kind of plugging along. They're not going to be your powerhouse team that's going to go win multiple like double-digit races and go anywhere they want, unload Williams Grove and sweep the weekend. And they're not going. That's just. I don't think that's a realistic expectation for that team. So I kind of went with the 2 wins, gives them a B, solid performance on the next year.
No, that's fair. I'm not disagreeing with you guys. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And that's it. We went through all 29 drivers. Thanks everybody for their participation in this. We almost got 100 responses. Well, it was pretty awesome. This was a fun exercise. I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you guys did too. I'll be putting all these up in an album on our Facebook. But let's get into. Let me pull this up. Your honorable mentions, and I'm just gonna go and scroll through. We're gonna go scroll through all of them, and we're gonna quick hit them pretty much. Here we go. First one here, Tanner Holmes with the B+, and Tanner Holmes was probably the most listed one. And for me, Tanner Holmes is kind of hard to rate because I don't know what he did before he got into the 1A, or should I say the 1T. He did really good. He surpassed my expectations in that shark car, especially going, basically out on the road. I think a B+ here is very solid. I agree.
I don't know much about him. I feel like he is like this instant like fan favorite, and I don't understand it. I don't know watch his YouTube. Maybe I need to watch it to understand more. I heard that's like a popular thing or like a big channel. Obviously very likable. People love the decision of putting him in the car. It was popular. For me, it's an not an incomplete, but a didn't study enough to know. I know the name, but I don't know how kind of season he had. I'm not going to give him a grade because I like the guy. It's a performance thing, and I wasn't unimpressed with what he did in the 1T. Um, Obviously, he's a young guy with a lot of potential. Well, we'll see. We'll see what the future holds.
Chris, what do
Yeah,
you think?
I mean, I agree with Jeremy. I did research enough to know a whole bunch. I saw the shark stuff, and just I don't know.
Yeah.
Solid.
For me, he just kind of I didn't expect him, like, he went like quick time or pretty close to quick time, like one of his first nights out. Granted, they were on the West Coast and he's maybe a little more familiar with it, but still, I don't know him as a big 410 driver. So I thought for being such a young talent and getting into something like that, he did pretty well. He handled himself well, and yeah, I could see a B plus. Got a little fender action here with Ricky Thornton Jr. With an A plus. We had two people bring him up, and I'm like, well, I don't really follow that much. 53 races, 23 wins. He pretty much slapped the
I'll go
shit
with
out
A
of
plus.
Lucas Oil
I'll take
Series.
your word for it. That sounds
Yep.
pretty good to me.
I agree.
Yeah. So I can't disagree with an A plus there, man. I mean, he did pretty well on his, but I don't really know much else about it. I just kind of looked up some stats. So you guys said, two of you said Ricky Thornton Jr. A plus. So good for you. Carmen
Is
Perigo A. So go ahead. Sorry.
But hold on. Is he the one that lost the championship?
Yes. I'm pretty
Yes,
sure.
Yeah, that's a joke, by the way.
because of
But
the
anyway,
playoff thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
moving on.
playoffs are a joke. Carry on.
Dirt
Carmen
racing
Perigo A minus. I don't know who wrote that in, but I will agree. I mean,
great season.
Great year.
I don't know how many wins he had, but I mean, it seemed like every time he
was
ran
winning.
with Boss, he was winning.
I think he won like 4 or 5 boss races.
Did he have 2 top 5s in the Silver Crown?
I think at
Port
least
Royal, and I don't know if he got a top 5. He was right there at Eldora. I think he finished 4th, didn't he? Something like that.
he finished 4th
I
there,
mean,
I believe.
Yeah,
Even still, yeah.
That just awesome season for him, and they just pick and choose what they want to go run. He won at Kutztown. He won the 360 USAC East Coast 360 race. George said he was the Perigo mention, so cool. Yeah, I could see an A minus. I don't disagree. You guys got any other comments?
Nope.
No, that's yeah, all good.
Cole Macedo F. That's brutal, but sure.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Brett Perigo F. Carmen Perigo A.
That pretty sure
Poor
that was probably Brett Perigo's response.
Yeah, it might have been actually.
And I agree. Brett gets an F. Put your steering
I don't
wheel on,
think Brett
dummy.
gets an F.
Put your steering wheel on, you big dummy.
I know he didn't get a win this year, but he was
was
pretty
fast
good when we were there.
Yeah, fast at Winners Grove, coming from the back, fast at Baps. Probably could have won if things would have went differently there.
Yeah. And again, another Carmen Perigo shout out, A for sure. Jake Karkland, A plus. I don't know about an A plus, but he definitely was somebody that turned my head multiple times this year, both at Port and Selinsgrove. And he's getting into that 35 next year, which I'm pretty excited about. I would give him like a solid B. I think he ran pretty well for, being a newer 410 guy, right? I mean, that was his first is it his first full season in a 410 or?
I think so.
So, I mean, he looked pretty good, and I'll give him an A plus just for that fire ass paint job that he had. That was
facts. Big fan of Jake. I like Jake and their team, and they've been supporters of mine this year with photography stuff, and I like them. They seem to be good people, and I'm looking forward to see what he can do next year.
Chris Noel here says Tanner Holmes show. Like everything he does on his YouTube channel, I think it's his second or third season in a 410. So second or third 410 season, and mainly only racing certain tracks out in the West Coast, and then jumping into a national ride and immediately off the bat getting top 10s was pretty impressive. So Aaron Reitzel, C minus. I don't have any stats on Reitzel here handy, but I can't disagree with that really. He didn't really.
I didn't realize he was in a 410 for most of the season. So
yeah, really.
There's that.
Like where you been, my guy?
I know he mostly ran Knoxville and stayed Midwest, but
oh yeah, that's true. He won some races out there, I think.
Yeah, but nothing major to where it was like, oh, Aaron Reitzel's still here. Brady Dillon 358, but no grade. Just
Literally a
shout out
write-in.
to
He
Brady
just
Dillon.
wrote it down, and he
Just
didn't
wrote it down.
capitalize the D. So there's that.
And same thing here, Cameron Smith. Just
Same person did both of those. Look,
Cam Smith though, he looked.
yeah, okay, okay. We'll do this impromptu on the spot. What grade do you give Cameron Smith's year? He's been in more rides than a carnival worker. So, what grade would you give him this year?
He
B
didn't win
minus.
anything,
B
right? He didn't
minus.
win anything, but he
He won
looked
a
good at
350
times.
He won a 358 race at Path Valley.
Okay,
And he should have probably won 2 Williams Grove races in one night, but didn't. So there's that.
C plus, B minus. I'll go B minus just because he's young and he turned my head a couple times too. You know, just especially in the '69 car that he's been in lately, the Glatfelter car. He looks pretty racy in that.
I'm a C plus. I think there were some inconsistencies, but shows the flashes of what could be in
Sure,
a 410.
absolutely. Billy Dietrich, B plus.
Listen, he's an A plus in our hearts. Okay,
Yeah,
That's
A
true.
plus in our hearts for sure.
Didn't have a win this year, I don't think, but the 8 car especially, they were, I thought, more consistently contenders, at least at
Yeah.
Lincoln there. Solid year, B plus, A minus.
He gets an F for jumping restarts, though.
That's allegedly. Tough deal.
I hope he's still listening. I swear to God, I hope he's still listening. I talked to him in passing at Baps after he got called for a jump at Baps in the heat. In passing, I'm like, bro, what's up? What you don't know where the line is? You can't see it or what? What's the deal? Like, his legend, his reputation precedes him at Baps too. He must have. I told him, I said he must have Lincoln officials at Baps.
I'd give him a solid B.
Yeah, solid, big Billy Dietrich fan. But yeah, I mean, hope he wins next year. That'd be cool. The victory lane would be nuts. It'd be a party for the ages.
Yeah, it'll be a popular one if he gets a win anywhere for sure.
And this was the reason why, because we could go on and on forever with, we were gonna miss guys, and Billy's won, Cam's kind of won, and the next guy here. As soon as I saw this one, I'm like, damn it, Kyle Reinhardt. We had him on our pre-race show at Bridgeport. Then he goes on the win. B plus. He looked so good the last half of the season. I can't disagree with the B plus.
Yeah, same. I think he met his expectations. I think maybe not the win totals, but putting this together, scraping it together, putting a deal together, definitely showed a lot of speed at times. So I'm a B plus. I'll take that.
Yeah. Chris, you too?
Yeah, sure.
Next one here, Michael Millard, A plus plus. I don't know about that, but he did a little bit of a better year this year than he had last year. No,
listen, he has fans, so we'll go with that.
For sure. I think a solid year for him. I mean, I'll give him a C. I'll give him a C. He's shown a little bit. He's shown some progress to me, so sure. I'll give him a shout on that.
He almost got passed in time. He almost got passed in time trials at Port. I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
he was faster than Brock. He was faster than Brock at Baps.
Yeah, well, that goes more against Brock.
It's more of an indication of Brock than Mike.
That's why he got an F.
That's why he got an F. Logan Rumsey, A, 4th in Summer Series, 4th, and points. Lincoln points looked good in the 410 at Baps at 16 years old. That's another iRacing Pro too. He did.
He did make that one ballsy move at Lincoln that one night. That was badass around the outside. That was nuts. He went by like 2,000 of a second or something.
Knocking the wall down the front stretch. I'll picture that thing like up on the wall as he went by. I swore he didn't pass him.
I'll give him an A for just that reason alone, because that was badass.
Yeah, great year, great young talent. Watched him in the 410. Like, he reminds me, him and Kyle Spence remind me so much of each other the way they drive. Their driving styles in a wing car, they're steady, they're smooth, they don't make a lot of mistakes, but they know how to make speed. Very impressed with what Logan how he was able to adapt into a 358 as fast as he could, as fast as he did, and in all track conditions, heavy, slick. He has a really good feel for a sprint car, and I'm excited to see how he progresses. And listen, I hope they get the funding help to continue to grow, to give him the opportunities to get behind the wheel of cars. So, and listen, good finishes will give you opportunities, and we'll see.
100%. Brandon Raymer really showed improvement and some consistency through 2 different cars for what he faced in the year B.
Cool.
He did. He got like a top 10 against the Outlaws. He was really good at Lincoln this year at times. So I can't disagree with a B, but I'd probably go a little bit lower.
I'm probably B minus, C plus.
Yeah, B
I watched
minus.
Brandon a lot this year. I watched a lot of his races. There were nights where it was like, okay, where is it at? And then there were nights you're like, this is what this could be.
Yes.
And for me and him, it's early night stuff. You got to get through the heats. You got to get in handicap, and you got a time trial. He can race a race car. I've seen him pass cars. I've seen him make moves. It's like the Chase Dietz in the 39. You got to time. You got to put yourself in a position to be up front. And I think he could go and do some good things. So looking forward to see what he does next year as far as getting through the early part of the night to set himself up for later.
Agreed.
Corey Day, A.
I can see it.
I can see it too.
Narc-
I feel like
he
we
won-
saw a
he
lot of
won
them
the-
in the beginning of the season and then just kind of
Did
disappeared.
he win the NARC championship out west? I think.
He might have.
And I think he won. Was it Gold Cup or Trophy Cup?
He won a lot.
Right, he won a lot. He
was
looked
up in the
good.
top 15, I think, in wins.
I think he looked good when he came over too, with the high limit filling in for Tyler Courtney, I believe.
Yes, he did.
I would say A is a fair assessment.
Yeah, for how young he is, for sure.
Definitely
Corey Day.
16, 17.
Oh, 2023 only. I saw his name on here. Give me a second. Oh, it was just there for the last couple years, but where'd he go? Control F. Ranked 15th this year in 410 ratings, 81 starts, 8 wins. He won $231,000 in winnings this season. Where's he at here? 2023, 45 races, 10 wins, 27 top 10s, 27 top 5s, 31 top 10s. So in 45 410 races, he had 31 top 10s. God damn.
That's impressive.
That is impressive,
Definitely
especially
an A.
since he did do some national stuff early in the year.
Well, he did. He ran some King of the West, and then he ran High Limit, World of Outlaw, King of the West, All Star, High Limit, World of Outlaw, and almost ended the season World of Outlaw strictly. Finishes, where's he at here? Finishes, just hear this. So starting at Jackson in August, 21st, didn't qualify, 19th, 3rd, 2nd, 5th, 3rd, 1st, 17th, 5th, 18th, 1st, 17th. Almost all outlaw races at the end of the year. This is the next big up and coming talent in the sport. If you don't know this name, you better
Get to
learn it.
know it. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think he's 17 now. He did really well in his very first outlaw race when he did like on his 16th birthday. He's definitely somebody to watch. Lucas Wolf, C+.
Fair. Got
I
2
think
wins.
it's fair.
2 wins, and just kind of good looking car. Can't
Yeah.
argue it.
C
Maybe
plus.
a B.
Yeah, like maybe a B minus for a little bump up for paint schemes, you know?
Yeah.
Sure.
Somebody here gave Kyle Reinhardt an A. I can't argue with an A. I'd probably go more of a B+. Lockie McHugh from Australia making the Eldora Million and multiple A-main starts in the Outlaws All-Stars gave him a B.
And just swept something in Australia recently. He just swept a weekend in Australia. Another young guy who is not afraid to use the loud pedal, with at the same risk of tearing some shit up, and saw him do some of that too. But definitely a name to keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. We got a Billy Dietrich A+.
Billy, look, man, when you write yourself in, you don't do A+. Okay, you got to be modest, like an A- maybe, you know?
Richard Cranium A+. That was a funny one.
Must be a Dietrich.
Kyle Larson F-. Now this one,
agreed.
This was another guy that was like, boom, we should, like, I know he's not full-time dirt, but he should have popped out as somebody that maybe we did a grade on. A for him. I mean, I think on his dirt season, Knoxville Nationals win, won High Limit.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
In 410 wing this year, he ran 28 races. He had 22 top 5s.
Holy shit.
with 10 wins. $500,000 in winnings for 28 races.
Yeah, you could almost give him an A+.
You should.
Probably, yeah. Especially with the Knoxville win. I'd give him an A+.
Yeah.
Chris left. He didn't want to see his F grade for PA Posse iRacing that somebody
That's
wrote
great.
in. Troy Fraker with a B+.
Can't
Hey,
argue that.
he shows up, man. JJ lost an A.
Listen,
know about
rough
an A.
start to that guy's season, but he really showed some potential and some like finishing races. Even if it didn't go well, finished the races, learned a lot this season. I mean, I had concerns week one, just week one and two, some pretty hard hits. Like first week out, second week out, tough hits. Came back, had some good finishes, led some laps in a feature earlier this year, or later in the year here, I should say, and definitely was showing up inside the top 10 a lot more later in the season. So looking forward to see what he's got.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I've seen some progress out of him, throughout the season. And, he was running well at BAPS and, just seemed like I started seeing his name a little bit more. So I don't know about an A, but I'd give him a solid grade. Jacob Allen F-. I don't know about that. I would not give him an
No,
F.
it's not a real answer. Keep going.
No. JJ Loss A+.
Got some JJ Loss fans. I like it.
Yeah. Billy Pouch a C. I don't really know.
I don't know if I follow enough to know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll take your word for it on a C. We got a B for Tanner Holmes. These next two were good ones. Cody Hartlob, A+. He had a hell of a season in 358s, and he looked good in a 410. The limited starts that he did have, and it sounds like he's going to go 410 racing more next year. So,
You know what though? He let me down. He didn't get the 7 wins this year, but I don't know if he had 7 finishes outside the top 5. So,
yeah.
like at that point,
Lincoln track title.
Yeah, and had some great races. Like the night at the Grove with him and Zach Newland, he came up second, but hell of a race. Some great racing at Lincoln. As the year went on at Lincoln, I think that competition got really good, and it was hard to pass some nights. And he'd go sixth, but like just a great year all around. A lot of growth. He got some 410 run in this year, and had some good runs in the 410. To be quite frank with you, and I know his expectations. You talk to Cody, it's like, oh, I shit the bed. He had a ride in the Bill Rose 6 at the end of the year at Williams Grove and Port Royal. That he's just one of those another young name in this sport that is hopefully the future of it.
Yep. Yeah, I can't argue with an A+ for his 358 season. I mean, he won Lincoln track title. Was he first? He didn't win. Did he win Williams Grove 358?
Maybe Hamilton did.
Yeah, he was right there though. I know
Yeah.
it came down to pretty much like the last race. He was great. He's definitely one of the premier 358 drivers here in the area. Moving up to a 410 a little bit more next year. Excited to see that. Justin Sanders, this is another good one. An A, and he looked good in that 39M wherever he went. He really kind of surprised me a little bit. Maybe I should have had better expectations for Justin Sanders, but I didn't really know that much about him. I know he ran the Swindell car and stuff like that, and he was mostly a West Coast guy, but definitely a guy that he could probably be a guy that get into a ride, go out national, and win some races.
So 410 racing this year, 50 410 races, 2 wins, 22 top 5s, 35 top 10s. In his 360 starts, he went 4th, 6th, 2nd, 1st, 4th, 3rd, and 1st. This guy was on my radar, and will continue to be. When he got the opportunity, it didn't surprise me at all. His season he had last year was awesome. I don't know if this season was exactly, but he traveled a little more, ran a lot of high limit, was in some good cars. I mean, when all things said and done, when Macri stepped out of the 39, Justin stepped in. It was like there was no letdown.
Yeah, they didn't miss a beat,
and he just took off. So he's another one of those like California kids, man. Like if he gets the right opportunity, make some national news here. The future of the sport definitely looks bright with some of these young kids coming up, and depending on where they go, I mean, they're going to be contenders to win races and championships.
Yeah, for sure. So I can't argue with an A there. I think he had a pretty good season. Dominic Selzy, I don't even know what he's running. I know it's very sparingly. I don't know about an A. I don't really know too much.
Well, let's see. 2023 wing, 28 410 races, 3 wins, 15 top 10s, 15 top 5s, 20 top 10s. In 360 racing, third, second, first, second, first, third, second, fourth, fifth, first. He is a hell of a 360 driver, it turns out.
Yeah.
Out west, and his 410 stuff, he did some high limit, King of the West. He really got his butt kicked a little bit here in the outlaw stuff late in the year.
Mhm.
When you go outlaw racing, 22nd, I'm sorry, 9th, 7th, 16th, 10th, 3rd, 4th, 3rd, 27th, 16th, 13th, and 4th. Really not that terrible.
No.
Just limited amount of starts. Running out west there. So I don't know if
I
yeah,
think what you
that's
listed
not
there, I don't think I could disagree with an A.
I don't know. I don't know what the expectations were going in. Were we going to run 50? We ran 30. Were we going to run none? And we got to run 30. That'd be a good season. So
Mm.
I don't know well enough if that meets their expectations or not. I don't know.
Jonathan Davenport an A plus, sure. This was another driver, Dylan Norris a B plus. Someone wrote Troy was there with, I don't know what they voted for him. Tanner Holmes B minus, and then Dylan Norris B plus. I
I
don't
think
know
that's
about a B plus.
little bit of a stretch. I mean, I'm B minus C plus territory. Showed those flashes again, but I saw those the year before. I thought this year could have been a launching pad springboard the end of last year into this year for Dylan. I like Dylan. I don't know. I guess the jury's still out what the future holds and his performance and consistency and where the ceiling is. I don't even know where the ceiling is for Dylan.
Yeah.
It could be as good as anybody could think or we got what we got. I don't know yet. It's an incomplete for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, incomplete for me as well. I would put, if I had to, B minus. Shout out Dirk Rimrot.
Okay.
Shout out
Is
to
this
Dirk.
real?
Yeah, it's a real guy. He ran double duty at Bridgeport.
Where did
and
he come from?
He just ran at BAPS.
I know, but where did he come from? Why do I not know this name?
I don't know, but it's a name you'll never forget now.
It's meme, like potential meme category type stuff here, like all day long. He's our new Troy Fraker.
Pretty much.
And I don't know where he came from. I didn't hear about him until Bridgeport, and all of a sudden he's been at Bridgeport and BAPS. Like,
Yeah. He did double duty. He ran modified and sprint car.
It might have been a car with a different body on it. I don't know.
Yeah. So shout out Dirk Rimrot, living the dream. Joey Amantia, A minus.
I mean,
I'm not exactly sure on his wingless stats, but I know he definitely took a step up this year. He also did some 410 starts and didn't look particularly great, but I mean, your first 410 starts, I'm not going to judge you that much.
yeah, no, listen, jury's out. We'll see. He's a young guy starting to figure it out. I saw he wrote about kind of his season and Carmen Perigo there, wingless, 2023, 12 wingless 410 races, 5 wins, 8 top 5s, 9 top 12, 9 top 10s out of 12 races.
He had 5 wins.
Mm-hmm. Boss. Oh, actually, one, two,
you're
three, four,
Carmen
five.
Perigo. I was gonna say.
Carmen Perigo, 5 wingless boss wins. Ohio Valley, Hilltop, Wayne County, Mercer, and Pittsburgh. So Joey wrote on his page recently. So let's take a look here. 410 starts. What was it? 360. Oh wait.
Yeah, he mostly ran USAC East Coast.
Why is it putting wing in there? Hold on a second.
He did have some 410 wing starts.
Wingless. What was in wingless? I swore I was. Joey Amantia. Yeah, why does it say wing? What the hell? Wingless. Okay. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. 21 wingless starts, 1 top 5, 3 top 10s. So young guy, starting to grow. His roots in the sport. I don't know where the A minus comes from other than seat time. somebody would have to give me some more information. I'd like to have Joey on the show, to be honest. I'd like to
Yeah.
hear a little bit more about his story. Might be a guy we reach out to this year. So he's got fans, so I'm here for that.
Yeah. Chase Randall, A+.
Man,
You know what? He's impressed the hell out of me. I don't know if I'd go an A+, but definitely in the A range for me because he just
yeah. Like,
he showed it.
how about like incomplete plus? Because I don't
Yeah.
know yet.
Yeah.
Like, he's on my radar. He's Corey Day, Justin Sanders, Justin Peck coming up through type. Like, okay, all right, I see you. Quick time this weekend at the 58 card. Never been in it before. Led laps to Tuscarora 50 in multiple cars. Just like, boom, where'd this guy come from? And I
Yeah.
should have known because the year before in 360s at Knoxville was like a contender to win the Knoxville 360 title nationals. And I'm like, okay, I know the name. Like, I knew the name going into this year, but like, okay, all right, you want to go like compete with the best in 410s and almost win? Like, holy shit! So he's on my radar
For sure. He's definitely somebody to watch out for if he gets into another guy. If he can get into a ride and do something nationally next year, he could win some money. Tyler Ross, C+. Leaving the 75. He looked really good in his 5. Bridgeport and Baps. He didn't look bad at Baps. C+, I think, is probably a fair grade. But what are your thoughts on Tyler?
I want to see wins, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I've watched Tyler for years, and he doesn't. I don't know. I don't know what I think. I don't want to grade him because I don't know what my expectations are still. I feel like I probably should. He's been around long enough, but like, let's go win some races, man. Like, I'm hyped for it. I'd be a fan. I'm a fan. Like, I like Tyler. I want to see him do well. I want to see him succeed.
Yeah. I think that's a fair grade. Troy Fricker, A++. Dietrich's, both of them. There was one point when I first put this up where I didn't have. I swear to God, Danny Dietrich was on the original ballot. It just his thing wasn't turned on. So some people wrote Danny in here because I didn't have him on immediately. But Dietrich's, both of them, like them or not, personalities, try hard, and represent well for the posse. Absolutely can't disagree there. And then Danny Dietrich at. Oh, I guess that's supposed to be an A+. I don't know about an A+. We already went over him.
Yeah, I like
it. Dustin Young, A++, 305 sprint car driver.
Listen, that's aggressive. I like Dustin. Talked to Dustin a lot. He would not give himself an A++. Yeah. That couldn't have been Dustin. That must be Dustin's biggest fan. He did not have he didn't have the year he wanted. He's ready to get back at it next year already. So I'm looking forward to what he can get done next year.
And that's it. That's the end of our write-ins. Thanks everybody who participated in this again. Try to do some more stuff. Maybe we'll do something with predictions. We'll do something similar, and a lot of fun. I hope everybody else had some fun.
Yeah, it's cool.
Chris had to bounce out. Anything else we want? Do we want to grade tracks
now?
It's up to you.
I don't think I want to do that tonight. Look, I don't.
Yeah.
I think we save that. We'll save that one.
Yeah, let's save that. What do you guys give Chad Trout?
Man,
did he win? I don't think he had a win. But he was fast at times when we didn't expect him to be. I think he made the dash in the Outlaw race.
Let's see here.
I'd probably go B minus because of the expectations for him. He was there at Lincoln.
Let's take a look. So 42 races, no wins, 4 top 5s, 12 top 10s, 130 rating. Lincoln, couple Williams Groves sprinkled in, a couple Williams Groves at the end.
C+.
There's moments, but C- for me because I think he's been around long enough now, and I think part of it is like equipment. It's good, always looks good, but they blow up a motor and they're out for a month, or they tear up some stuff and they're out for some time. So, there were times like time trial wise, he'd have that wing back and like just time trial really well and run up front. didn't see it enough consistently this past year. So we'll see what 2024 brings and hope for a little better season.
We had a lot of comments here on Facebook that we didn't get to see.
And Bay says that we are top tier. Listen, man, we'll self evaluate. We got a B minus for this year. We did okay. Definitely some Tanner Holmes fans. Amanda Browse in chat. Sean Farrell said Logan Wagner, runner, Selinsgrove. I don't know what that means, but thanks. Kramer Clash was a good win. That was who won the Kramer? Zeb?
Wasn't it?
Zeb won the Kramer. Is that the All Star show?
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
You cunts better give Troy Wagaman Jr. an A because he had a great year. ... Travis Garner, official chalk line guy, deal thing people said in all caps, we ain't scared of the rain. Well, every track is now, buddy. Sorry. If they ain't making money, they're scared of the rain. Cody Hartlob said hi like 4 hours ago. So thanks, Cody. Shout out. Appreciate you, brother. Gave you some love tonight. And hopefully we'll have you back on the off season, checking on how your year went, man. We'll do a recap with you. So, yeah, man, all good.
Yeah. Speaking of the off season, we'll be off until December after tonight. We'll take a little break here for Thanksgiving and everything. Try to get geared up. We're going to start lining up some interviews. Interview season, man. It's off season, so we'll try to start getting into that. Starting in December, probably first week of December, we'll be back. So keep an eye on it. Thanks everybody for such a. This was fun, a lot of fun. I know it's kind of weird with it being on a Wednesday and everything, and just appreciate everybody who's been hanging with us, and we'll see you in December.
And listen, if you're a driver and we gave you a grade, you don't agree with it.
Yeah, come on. Let's talk about it.
Let's come on, talk about it and debate it. We got the data. We got the stats. You come tell us your story. You tell us your truth. Thanks,
Absolutely.
everybody. It was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Everybody have a very happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you guys in December.